the everyday Hogwarts player. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 126 Ryan's Lie. The corridor on the third floor was very quiet at this time. After Madame Pomfrey's repeated emphasis, Ron reluctantly set out with Harry on the road to defense against the dark arts. It's really unfair. I heard that other students were not allowed to go to class and had to stay in the infirmary all the time for the slightest problem. How did this happen to me? Ron said as he walked slowly. Shut up, Ron, it's already 3:35 and we're already late. Harry said with a frown. Harry, we're already late, why don't we forget about it? Professor Quirrell smells like that, yuck. Ron didn't know how many times he had said this, and Harry had become immune to it. Pretending not to hear it at all, Harry, Ron repeated again, and then was interrupted by Harry. Ron, Dumbledore said before that he would tell Professor Quirrell about his smell. I believe that this time it will be much better. Then, Harry regretted it. When he and Ron stepped into the classroom, what greeted them was not the fragrance they imagined, but the familiar sour taste. No, it's a little lighter, it seems like there's a little perfume on it. Unlike other colleges or their own senior students, they have long been accustomed to Professor Quirrell's sour smell. There's even a third-year Gryffindor student named Devin who always fights to sit in the first row for fear of not being able to smell it. He even became eager to learn because of this and pestered Professor Quirrell all day long. But recently, for some unknown reason, he suddenly got involved and made a bet with others and tied a few vixen eggs. He was sent to St. Mungo's and suspended from school. Professor Quirrell heard that he lost several pounds because of it. However, Ryan knows the specific reason for all this. In the past week, Quirrell has been taking advantage of helping Dumbledore arrange the defensive magic stone, and has been exploring the forbidden area on the fourth floor whenever he has time. That Devin kept pestering him at this time. If he wasn't worried about Dumbledore, this student would have gone to see Merlin long ago. Originally, he shouldn't have been in such a hurry. In the original world line, he wouldn't invade Hogwarts under the guise of a troll and try to seize the Sorcerer's Stone until Halloween at the end of next month. But Harry's two previous purifications not only failed to restore Quirrell's vitality, but also increased Voldemort's control over Quirrell. Although it was more because Quirrell himself was self-righteous and tried to take advantage of Voldemort to be cursed by Harry. It was caused by performing a flirty operation, controlling Voldemort, while sleeping. Ryan also wondered why this guy never took advantage of this great opportunity to find Dumbledore. Dumbledore could handle this. But it was all his own death, so let him die. Ryan had already given him a chance. On the other side, as soon as Harry stepped into the classroom, Quirrell couldn't stop backing away, as if he was a sister-in-law who met a vicious dog. The last row is still empty, I think it looks good. He didn't pay attention at all, but because of his own smell, the last row was already crowded with students. Harry was very happy. He didn't want to get too close to Professor Quirrell. What if he was like the unlucky Devin? But Ron was very unhappy. Professor Quirrell only had eyes for Harry and didn't notice him at all. He just came back from the school doctor's office. It can only be said that Ron always pays attention to something weird every time. In the current Defense Against the Dark Arts class, all the eaglets are sitting in the last two rows. However, Hermione was an exception. Ryan took her to sit in the front row grandly. The stench around them was purified before they even got close to them. However, Quirrell seemed to be blind and did not notice this strange scene at all. Since Ryan completed the ritual, he no longer had to worry about Voldemort, Dumbledore and the like, so he dared to do this in the Defense Against the Dark Arts class where Voldemort's spirit was, and he was sure that he would never find him. Harry, have you noticed that Professor Quirrell's scent is indeed a little lighter? Ron said as he and Harry squeezed next to Neville in the last row. Ron, you're crazy. They all stink. Do you still have the time to distinguish the severity of the smell? Neville's small round eyes widened, and not only is it light, but it seems like you've also sprayed a little extra perfume. Harry, please use that spell again, I'm going to faint. Michael's black face suddenly appeared from one side, while Professor Quirrell on the podium was still stuttering and giving lectures, completely ignoring what was happening below. Chaos. The reason why the little hawks in the audience behaved completely differently than usual was not because they did not respect knowledge, but because Professor Dumbledore had already taken them through the first-year defense against the dark arts course. With the help of Dumbledore, the eaglets who memorized all the key points, this school year, for the defense against the dark arts course, they just study in books. The most important point is that Professor Quirrell himself only followed the script. He encounters a major accident and becomes stuttering. It does not mean that the knowledge itself has been forgotten. If Professor Quirrell cannot follow the script and have his own thing, even if he stutters again, he will not be inferior to all the little eagles in the classroom now. They are all fishing. Harry suddenly realized that he was an idiot. Although Ron was tired of studying, he was not an idiot who didn't want to make progress. He must have considered this before he wanted to skip classes. He and Ron returned to the lounge and told Dumbledore, "Don't you study well on your own? Michael, forget it. No points were deducted before. That's just good luck. I don't want to lose college points just like this." Harry was a little moved, hesitated for a moment, and still refused. Michael looked disappointed, Ryan also noticed it, and Quirrell breathed a sigh of relief unknowingly. On the other side, Hermione was observing this magical scene curiously. None of the students or teachers around her could see her, and she seemed to be in another world. Hermione breathed in the fresh air greedily. After all, there is no harm without contrast. The familiar sour smell when she entered the classroom before making her unable to stop recalling the spell she used to clear her heart and clear her mind, and then she fainted experience. "Ryan, is this also a spell learned in Atlantis?" Hermione asked, then stared at Ryan's handsome face with eyes that she thought were not obvious. "No, our Smith family is born with a weak sense of existence. If it weren't for Atlantis, I might have to live alone all my life," Ryan said in a low tone, pretending to be hurt. "Oh, Ryan, everything is over," Hermione exclaimed in a maternal tone, and then took advantage of the situation to hold Ryan's hand until she got out of class was over, then reluctantly let go. Hermione didn't let go because she was shy. After all, under the attraction of Ryan's handsome face, normal women would forget what shame is. The only reason why Hermione let go was that at this time, most of the Hogwarts students were out of class, and all the students who had no time to watch Harry and the others because they were in class all gathered in the defense against the dark arts classroom. There were so many people that even Filch pretended not to see them, which also caused Mrs. Norris to hesitate in confusion from her expression. She probably wouldn't wash her hands tonight. Chapter 127 Excitement before flying lessons. Early the next morning, the bedroom was noisy, and Ryan, who maintained a normal routine, was also attracted by the strange scene in front of him. Usually he's the first to get up, but why is it completely different today? Is it because of Harry and Neville? Harry and Neville went back to their bedroom early to sleep yesterday because of the rumors. As for Ron, a weirdo, apart from being a little uncomfortable at the beginning, his subsequent performance was simply outrageous. In response to the entanglements and inquiries from the people around him, he only blushed slightly at the base of his ears and only emphasized that his name was not Ronnie Weasley, but Ron, or Ronald. "Only occasionally when I feel a little bored will I defend myself, Harry, and Neville." As for the description of Draco Malfoy, he himself felt that this person was weird, plus he was a Slytherin or a Malfoy, so when other people mentioned Malfoy, he always treated him with a vague attitude. In response, this actually makes people who are interested feel that maybe Rita's writing is not comprehensive enough, and Ron also has a good impression of Malfoy. Ron was indeed the passionate, philanthropic boy described in Rita Skeeter's report. So Ron went to bed at a normal time yesterday, as did the trio of Michael, Anthony, and Terry. Harry, Neville probably got up early because he went to bed early. Could it be that something big happened that made them forget about the worries caused by yesterday's report, so that others were woken up and joined in? As for Ryan's own bed, Ryan's subconscious mind when sleeping contains the idea of sleeping until he wakes up naturally. Then his magic power will also subconsciously cause phenomena to eliminate all the noise that he does not want to hear. The real world had just passed for a second, and Ryan had finished thinking. Sure enough, I got a message from Ron's excited roars around him. Their first flying lesson will begin at 1 o'clock tomorrow, Friday. The well-informed eaglets have already known that there is a message posted in the Gryffindor and Slytherin lounges. They will have flying lessons on Thursday, that is, at 3:30 this afternoon. My family has never been sure when the flying lessons will start, but today, the sure information came. Although the flying lessons are tomorrow, this does not prevent the first-grade eaglets from being excited in advance. So, throughout the day, Everything was ignited by everyone's excitement. Even in the morning history of magic, a few students slept, whispering to each other and discussing Quidditch. During lunch, Harry discussed Quidditch with Seamus, who was sitting next to him. According to Seamus, he spent most of his childhood flying around on a broomstick in the wilderness. Ron chimed in from time to time, saying that he once nearly hired a hang glider while riding Charlie's old broomstick to Malfoy opposite him, and he no longer had the bitter look he had on yesterday. Perhaps because he had a flying lesson this afternoon, he began to tell many lengthy and boastful stories with himself as the protagonist. These stories were very interesting to Ryan. They were all made up from the perspective of a wizard who did not understand the Muggle world or copied from somewhere with him, narrowly avoiding a Muggle helicopter. Ryan touched his chin. At this moment, Ryan even thought that it would be great if Draco Malfoy was not a little wizard who was born in a family that discriminated against Muggles. In this way, his stories would be better and more interesting. Well, Draco Malfoy can't grow up in a wizarding family that likes Muggles. The story Ron made up is even more outrageous. Ryan thought seriously. Ron, Neville, and Draco, who were the center of the conversation yesterday, so as not to let the happy atmosphere disappear. Maybe it's the professor's request, or they understand the excitement about flying. Ryan suddenly felt that it was not that interesting again, so Ryan couldn't see the panic expressions of the four of them. That is, Ryan also gradually heard that it was obviously using the story structure in his dream, coming from the maybe mouths of some unskilled little wizards. These structures are originally created by Ryan himself, and the story needs to be better, at least at Ron's level. Look at Draco and Ron, these two are loyal fans of Dreamin', they don't dare to apply it, how dare these guys not brag? In Harry's eyes, everything today was brilliant. He continued until Harry suddenly saw Dudley at the Hufflepuff table. He suddenly discovered a blind spot that he had not paid attention to, that is, his flying lessons were with Hufflepuff. And it was all on Friday. The potions class on Friday morning was also with Hufflepuff. The worst thing was that he had to face blunt praise from Professor Snape, even though he was not that good. Me and everything changes? Harry, what's wrong? Ron suddenly noticed Harry, who was unconscious. Nothing, I just found out that tomorrow's classes will be with Hufflepuff, Harry said. To be honest, when Harry first heard about the flying lessons, although he was as excited as the other little wizards, he didn't particularly care. In his eyes, weren't other lessons equally magical? However, after hearing the news from Roger Davis that his father James Potter was the star seeker of the Gryffindor Quidditch team, he even went to the trophy display room to check it out. It was different in his mind, and could be compared with a potions class that Ryan said his mother was equally good at. However, unlike potions class, I often cooked at Aunt Petunia's house. But for the flying class, I only watched Quidditch Origins a few times and had no chance to practice it. I was even deprived of the opportunity to buy bamboo dragonflies by mail. Ron, what if I, unlike my father, ride a broomstick and make a fool of myself in front of Dudley? Harry said gloomily. Harry, I'm worried. The Dursley guy looks so big. It's still unclear whether the broomstick can support him. Ron comforted. Ryan on the side watched this scene and once again admired his operation of turning Dudley into a wizard. No, the happiness returned. Ouch, poor Harry, ha 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 ha. Chapter 128 The Old Broomstick. Today is Friday and the flying lesson is this afternoon. In the auditorium, Ron was still pestering Harry, asking about football. Last night at dinner, after the flying lesson, Ron, Harry and others pestered Seamus, the Gryffindor sitting next to him, and Dean and others asked about their feelings about flying. Neville on the side also prickled up his ears. He has never touched a broom, because in his grandma's eyes, Neville can always cause endless accidents even if his feet are firmly on the ground. At that time, almost all the students expressed their exclamation and praise for flying. But there is only one wizard who is different, and that is Dean Thomas, who is as dark-skinned as Michael. In his mouth, riding a broom is too stupid and not as fun as football. As he spoke, he even took out a poster of the West Ham football team that he had prepared in advance. Most people didn't care about Dean's words. They were more concerned that the people on the poster didn't move. But Ron was different. I have excitedly discussed with Dean. After carefully listening to Dean's instructions on how to play football, he kept saying, there is only one ball in the field, and no one is allowed to fly. This what's so exciting about this kind of competition. After dinner, after finishing his homework, he got entangled with the only friend who grew up in the Muggle world and was in his bedroom, Harry Potter asking Harry. Harry, on the other hand, tried hard to recall the football matches he occasionally caught a glimpse of on TV. When he was still at his aunt's house, even though there was a TV in the house and it was always on, Dudley was always reluctant to let him get close to him. Whenever he got close, he would fake cry, as if Harry had watched a little TV and felt better. Ron already told everything he could say. But after arriving in Ravenclaw, Ron seemed to have aroused some perverted interests and was always stubborn in strange places. Like this time, he seems to understand why football is fun. Harry, answer him quickly, or just make it up. Lisa Dupin said with lingering fear. Before this, Ron had also pestered her because she bagged that there was no Dumbledore in their family. The curse of understanding. What should I? Before Harry could ask, Ron came back with a full plate of food, complaining and cursing, asking why the potato and meat pie was placed so far away from him. Fortunately, class was about to begin, and Professor Snape in the potions class was still a terrifying presence to Ron, which made Ron forget about football for the time being and began to walk to the basement with trepidation. When they arrived at the potions classroom, Dudley still sat far away from Harry. Now in Hogwarts, the two of them were like strangers, with almost no communication. While Snape entered the classroom dragging a long black cloak that was the same color as his clothes. He looked around with cold eyes, and except for the occasional warm look at Harry, the rest of the time he looked like the world owed him an Oscar. He took reading out a list he had finished before and read down Harry's name, aligning the other names with the faces of the students below. I have a question now. Why did I choose a pewter crucible instead of brass or copper? Professor Snape asked Harry. Among the three common crucible materials, their potion brewing efficiency decreases from copper, brass, to tin. Unlike wizards like you who are highly skilled in potions, copper is the most suitable. It can also be used to make some potions that need to be brewed quickly. Harry still answered accurately. Since he knew what his parents were best at, finally, unlike the flying lessons where he couldn't practice and read books that didn't help much, Harry had been consciously looking through thousands of magical herbs and mushrooms, magic potions, and even some extracurricular related ones. Find recommendations from some seniors and read them. Very well, Weasley, why can't you learn from Harry? It seems that getting along with good people will not make you better. I almost forgot, Ravenclaw adds 2 points. After class, Ron was like a frost-beaten eggplant. Why does Professor Snape keep targeting me? Harry, can you help me ask? Professor Snape also read the report and even believed it. Neville said quietly at the side. Damn Rita Skeeter. Ron Painmask. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Ryan and the other Ravenclaw students hurried down the steps and onto the field in front of the door, preparing for their first flying lesson. Grass rippled slightly their feet as they walked quickly beneath a sloping lawn toward a flat lawn on the opposite side of the field. Beyond the lawn is the forest, with dark trees swaying in the wind in the distance at this time. There was no one on the field. The Hufflepuff students had not arrived yet. There were only 20 broomsticks neatly arranged on the ground. These broomsticks all look quite old, and they are all very old models. Hogwarts is indeed true. However, Fudge's reply said that he was just reducing some unnecessary expenses and using them on more important areas. It seems that a broomstick for flying lessons was what Fudge said was an unnecessary expense. After all, although they are old and worn out, they can always be used. They just have a few minor problems. For example, they will tremble when you fly too high, always look slightly to the left when flying, and will not move when landing. Like normal slow descent, etc. While the Hufflepuffs also came, with Dudley standing at the front. It seemed that during this period, he had re-established his position as a leader in his class, and he was worthy of being the Southeastern Junior Heavyweight Interschool Boxing Competition champion. Ryan couldn't help but be a little surprised. He found that Dudley's wizarding ability, which was originally a bit lame due to the transplant, slowly recovered like a living thing. Is it because of Lily's spell? Now, Dudley possesses the talents of an adult wizard in advance, coupled with his strong physique. Without Ryan himself, this book would not be renamed Dudley Dursley's Daily Life at Hogwarts. While Ryan was thinking, Mrs. Hokey, the flying teacher, also arrived. She has short gray hair and 2 yellow eyes, like the eyes of an eagle. Alright, what are you waiting for? She snapped up. The flying lesson started without introducing myself. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 129: The Magic Version of the Pendant. At 1 o'clock, on the flat grass outside Hogwarts, a group of young wizards stood next to their broomsticks. Unlike the anxious Hufflepuff, most of the Ravenclaw freshmen are very confident. In their opinion, they have already watched Quidditch Origins in advance and even participated in active Quidditch. Lectures given by the team's chasers, flying and all, wouldn't that be a piece of cake, MRS. Hoki is a resolute witch. In her class, she did not call anyone by name. She started practicing directly and didn't give any chance to some anxious little witches. "Put your right hand on top of the broom handle," Madam Hooch called from the front, "and say, 'Get up, get up.'" Everyone shouted. Ryan's broom immediately jumped into his hand, but there were only a few such obedient brooms. Harry's broomstick is the same as Ryan's. In addition, there is Ernie Macmillan from Hufflepuff. He is a big, conceited and very hard-working guy. From a conversation that happened before, you can see how hard he worked. "How many hours do you think you can review a day?" he asked Harry and Ron with anxious eyes before taking potions class. "I don't know," said Ron. Ernie said, puffing out his chest. 8 or 9 hours. "I study for an hour before breakfast every day. The average is 8 hours. If things go well, I can study for 10 hours on the weekend. I studied for 9.5 hours. Tuesday was not so good, only 7 hours and a quarter. Then Wednesday, at that time, the conversation ended because of Snape's entry. A little unconfident, when he was a child, before he was attacked by Voldemort, he could freely operate a toy broomstick. Although he had no memory, subconsciously he did not believe that he could not successfully awaken the broomstick. Ernie Macmillan was still a prefect in his original world line, and he was very conceited. His success did not surprise Ryan succeed. Ron, Neville, and others also have the same brooms as Anthony. Hermione's broom just rolled on the ground, just like most little wizards, but Hermione was obviously unhappy. This was her only lesson, and just like Neville in the original world line, the only ones whose brooms don't move at all are Dudley and Wayne Hopkins, an unknown guy who has no role in the novel at all. Doodles about Harry Potter. Much of it was never used in the series, although surprisingly, the odd line of dialogue was later published verbatim. One of the books lists the names of Harry's 40 students, including Harry, Ron and Hermione, all the assigned houses, and small symbols next to each name, depicting the origin of each boy or girl. Wayne Hopkins is one of the original 40 people mentioned in J.K. Rowling's words. In the setting, he still exists in Hogwarts, but he has never appeared in Harry's perspective. Ryan observed this guy with interest, but after a while, he found that he was no different from other little wizards. Mrs. Hooch, who had just begun formal teaching, walked among the crowd and showed them how to ride on a broom without falling off their heads, and correct the holding method of the hand from time to time. Here, the people who make the most mistakes are those born in wizard families holding methods. However, Ron's family background was steeped in education. His brother Charlie was the best seeker in recent times. Mrs. Hooch could hardly find fault with Ron's grip. She just took a quick look at it. Harry was even more amazing. The way he subconsciously held the broom was already the most standard. Dudley was also very good at this, perhaps because he often hit Harry with his smelting cane grip. "Now, when I whistle, you push off the ground with your legs. Push hard," said Madam Hooch, kept him stuck on the ground. From Ryan's perspective, Dudley's adult wizard's magic power was absorbed by the broom, creating an upward force. Dudley's own unconfidence actually caused him to create a new phenomenon. There was a gap between the ground and his body. An invisible magnetic force was created, which offset the upward force of the broom. No, it's not just that, the magnetic force is getting stronger and stronger, and then, click ground. Mrs. Hooch and the students next to him were stunned, and Harry even curled his lips sadly. Ryan couldn't help but be surprised. "Good guy, Dudley is playing a magic version of the Thousand Djinn pendant. The bottom plate is stable enough. If this continues, Dudley won't become a monk in the magical world. How is that possible? In the more than 20 years I have been teaching, no little wizard has ever been able to crush a broom." Mrs. Hoki asked in surprise, "What's your name?" "Dudley Dursley." Dudley said tremblingly. Dudley seemed to be trying to shrink his body to appear smaller, but his efforts were in vain. Mrs. Hokey obviously recited the name silently several times in her mind, trying to remember the name. Okay, wait a minute, a broomstick is such a delicate instrument. If it is restored to its original state directly, it may cause bad effects. I will go to the broom room in the foyer on the first floor and get another one to have a look, Mrs. Hokey said. Then he turned to the other students in the class and said, "Put the broomsticks back where they belong. Don't play with them when I'm not around. If I come back and see you, then be careful about your college points." After a while, Mrs. Hokey strode towards the door and then disappeared. Anthony, did you just see that? It's not magic, was the first to break the wordless silence. Chapter 130 Failed Attempt. It was almost 2 o'clock, and the venue was very noisy at this time. All the students present obeyed Mrs. Hokey's instructions, and no one touched the broom. The Ravenclaws gathered together and began to discuss whether there was a similar phenomenon in the book. The Hufflepuffs curiously asked Dudley what it felt like and how he did it. Ravenclaw. If the students of Gryffindor and Slytherin were here, they would have started fighting. How interesting it would be that Dudley, a bully, could fit into Hufflepuff very well and still answer patiently for such a shameful scene just now. Is Hufflepuff that good? Or is it that Dudley is only doing this to Harry and is not bad to anyone else? No, in the original world line, he was just as bad to other people and bullied his classmates. When he got a little older, he would destroy public property in the playground with his friends all day long, smoke on the street corner, and throw stones at passing cars and children. While Els was still discussing the magical scene that had just happened to Dudley, Ryan was still thinking about Dudley's changes. Could it be that Lily's love spell also caused Dudley and Harry the same effect after he acquired the magic power? The same effect reduces negative emotions, which in layman's terms means more positive energy. I heard my Aunt Amelia Bones mention that Dudley Dursley only awakened his magic and became a wizard after he was 11 years old, on the evening of the 3rd day of school. Do you think this is the reason why Dudley is not accepted by the broom? Said Susan Burns, a little badger with long hair braided on her back. What? Your aunt is Amelia Burns, the director of the Legal Enforcement Department of the Ministry of Magic, Anthony said in surprise, and for some reason, his cheeks were still slightly red. He must have been ashamed of himself for always showing off that his distant relative was Newt's wife, like Susan, who never mentioned her aunt. Did your aunt tell you what happened to Crouch Jr. in the end? I heard that he and Crouch Sr. didn't enter Azkaban at all. They were just imprisoned at home and not allowed to go out. Brown-skinned Terry he also came over and asked. Then, the next topic all revolved around Susan's aunt. However, Ryan also understood this very well. Amelia Burns was a rare and powerful witch. In the original world line, Voldemort personally lured into her home and killed her. It can be said that he has a lot of cards. Voldemort really doesn't care about martial arts. In terms of age, he can be said to be 1 round older than Amelia. Voldemort in advance. No wonder Fudge came forward. As a sheep, he leads a group of lions, but he just hopes to make them vegetarian like himself. Ryan, are you saying that wizards like the Pruitt brothers, Molly Weasley's brothers, killed by Voldemort, look like Dumbledore? Pay, who heard Ryan sighing in the mind game at this time? Nero interjected. What I mean is that they have been studying magic and not doing other things. If they live to Dumbledore's age, they will be almost at the level of Dumbledore now. Ryan replied in his mind, and then continued to think. If, from now on, Amelia puts down her work in the Department of Legal Enforcement of the Ministry of Magic and spends her days studying and training magic, she will probably be able to do a few more things after Voldemort is resurrected. However, this shouldn't be possible. Not every wizard can get rid of mundane things. Ryan thought. After a while, the surroundings became quiet again, and it turned out to be Mrs. Hokey, walking from a distance with a broom. Well, that's right, the broom has not moved. Mrs. Hooch sighed. Dudley, come on, try this broom again. Okay. Dudley agreed and took the broom. Crack. Another broom was broken by Dudley, and Dudley fell heavily to the ground again. It was amazing. Ryan noticed that Dudley was more skilled in using the weight. Good guy, if Dudley really mastered this technique, and with his weight, I'm afraid no wizard can withstand his pressure. If Dudley falls on his butt, no one will be able to survive. Mr. Dursley, I'm afraid you can only stay on the ground for this class first. I can't delay other students from learning to fly. Mrs. Hooch said with a little pity, if you continue, then there is a reason to change what to change. Dudley scratched the back of his head. Mrs. Hokey's cheeks turned slightly red, but she said nothing. What a pity. According to Mrs. Hooch's wish, if Dudley breaks all these brooms, then we can replace them with new ones, said Ron. But obviously, the smart people didn't know him, and everyone else understood what Mrs. Hokey meant. Mrs. Hooch, I am willing to lend my broom to Dudley. Do not abandon, do not give up. Solidarity and mutual help is the Hufflepuff spirit broom, Dudley. Mrs. Hokey's expression was obviously slightly agitated, but out of the reserve of a teacher, she still stuck to her bottom line. Okay, be quiet and continue with class. Hold the broom steady, rise a few feet, and turn slightly to the left. Very good, turn right, turn left, and lean back. Next, except for Ryan, who was not paying attention to anyone, Harry performed the best. He seemed to be born to live on a broom. He carried out all of Mrs. Hooch's instructions perfectly, and even better, went above and beyond. Mrs. Hooch asked everyone else to lean forward slightly and fall back to the ground, allowing Harry to fly higher so that other young wizards could learn the smoothness that even experienced hands could not learn. So Harry rose up, the air rushing through his hair, his robes flapping behind him, and he lifted the broomstick a little higher, letting it fly higher. The girls' screams and gasps came from the ground, and Ron let out a shout of admiration. Okay, Harry, you can come down. In all my years at Hogwarts, I have never. You should try out for the school team. You wait after class and I want to tell Professor Flitwick. Hooch, Harry did everything you told him to do. Ron was inexplicably stupid again, as if he didn't notice Mrs. Hooch's tone at all and was eager to argue with her. This is completely different from Ron, who had just guessed what Mrs. Hokey meant. No, 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 how could it be? I just want to use a right that should be used. Mrs. Hokey smiled slightly. Chapter 131 Seeker. At 3 o'clock, after the flying class ended, Mrs. Hokey took Harry and mysteriously disappeared. Harry didn't return to the lounge until it was almost time for dinner. In the Great Hall, while people in other houses were discussing Dudley's crushing of the broomstick, the Ravenclaw students were gathering around Harry, who had just returned. You're kidding. Ron said in surprise. If it's true, then you will be the youngest player on the academy team in a century. Hermione said thoughtfully. I was originally recommended to Professor Flitwick, who asked me to be a substitute and participate in the Ravenclaw Quidditch team's group training. But it just so happens that Captain Johnny is the Seeker, and he is now a 7th grader. He will graduate this year and has no energy to participate in training. Although most of us, hey, Harry has us so soon, Ron said, time is all about designing tactics, but it won't work if you don't train all the time. So according to Roger, who is really in charge of the team now, why not just give me a try as a Seeker? He said I was light and agile and a natural Seeker. He even made me dive 30 feet on the spot and reach out to catch the golf ball he threw. In the end, Professor Flitwick had no choice but to agree and said he wanted to talk to Professor Dumbledore. Harry said lightly. What? 30 feet? Dive? Harry, this is not something ordinary people can do. Anthony, who was a little arrogant, finally surrendered and said in admiration. But what about the broom? Dark-skinned Michael interjected. Yes, first years are not allowed to use brooms. Hermione reminded. Professor Flitwick asked me to order directly through the Owl mail order, and I bought Nimbus 2000. Harry's expression was a little painful. The gold galleon spent to buy Nimbus 2000. Roger Davis also wants me to buy Sweep 7 stars, saying that Nimbus and everything else are just plagiarism and rubbish, but Captain Johnny stopped him and used data. Now the Nimbus 2000 is the fastest broom. As a Seeker, a broomstick should be fast and stable at the same time. It's not like sweeping everything for stability. Brooms are better for chasers, batsmen, wicket-keepers. Captain Johnny originally wanted to lend me his sweeping 6 stars this semester, but since I can buy Nimbus 2000, I forgot about it. Harry said. Nimbus 2000. Harry, how expensive is this? Ron said tremblingly. When it's time, lend it to me for fun. Ron, Harry, that's a special case, but you're still a first year, you can't, Hermione said, but she was interrupted by Ron before she finished speaking. Hermione, it's just that first years can't bring brooms, right? Can't I use it in my flying class? Haha, this is the wisdom of Ravenclaw. At this time, 2 senior students walked into the dining room. They were the 2 wizards who had said before that Roger was only a junior and Nimbus was the best. As soon as they saw Harry, they walked over quickly. Oh, it's you. Don't think that we will accept you just because you said bad things about Roger with us. One of the tall wizards with a chin said, and Harry was confused. How could he ask why Roger? Hosting a Quidditch symposium was tantamount to speaking ill of him. Second grader, I haven't spoken yet. You must be Harry Potter. Although you are only in first grade, you are Harry Potter. I hope you can live up to my expectations. Another strong and honest blonde wizard said, Roger has already told us. I am Henry, Phoenix, who just spoke. We are also on the cadet team, the other two chasers besides Roger. Tell you, we are definitely going to win the Quidditch Cup this year. Phoenix with a chin said, we have never won it, but this year is different, with me. Let's go. Second grader, how can you compare yourself to Harry Potter? The sturdy and honest Henry pursed his lips and said in a low voice, a team like this win. Ron worried for Harry. Yes, but fortunately, the one named Henry obviously looks down on the lower grades, but he makes an exception for me. Harry said thankfully. Yes, you are Harry Potter. If anyone gives you trouble, I, Anthony, will be the first to refuse. Anthony suddenly interjected. Now he was impressed by Harry. It is estimated that someone slandered Harry, and he might be able to get away with it. Faster than Ron. By the way, Harry, do we need to keep it a secret? Brown-skinned Terry asked. No need, I feel like I know. Harry said helplessly, with his ears tilted. Lavender Brown from the Gryffindor table approved. Next, Harry rushed back to the common room to prevent the impact of this incident from starting to unfold. Harry's choice was wise. Harry Potter, a boy who was a topic in his own right, became even more popular at Hogwarts after appearing in newspapers twice and knocking out professors twice. Now, he has become the youngest player in this century. Sure enough, just a minute after Harry left his seat, Harry's original position on Ryan's right was surrounded by a large group of people. Among them was Wood, a guy who came to spy on military affairs. Phantom Body of the Moon. An invisible spirit body below level 7 emerged from behind Ryan. He was surrounded by stars and his face was hidden under a glittering hood. As Ryan muttered silently in his heart, the spirit activated his abilities, and the little wizards around him immediately remembered their important matters as if they were under a confusion spell. Good guy. Ryan suddenly realized that he was just like a substitute messenger. If converted into a stand, it would be a 5A panel, and its ability is the same as Dio's Made in Heaven, which is to rewrite reality, but it mainly consumes magic power and is not limited to the hands. Well, using one's own incarnation to rewrite reality is no different from a curse. Ryan was speechless. That's right, the wizard's curse itself is a reduced version of the power to rewrite reality. Every curse has the potential to rewrite reality. In this way, the ability of his own substitute is only at the level of curse level 7. It is something that allows Ryan to use divine power even before he is a god. It is also a foreign land, the kingdom of God. In the 7th part of Harry Potter, is the world you enter after death the kingdom of death? I'm really curious. Tomorrow. Next, let Harry, who is still complacent about becoming a seeker, open his eyes. Ryan touched his chin and differentiated. He took a form and disappeared from the spot. Chapter 132 Ron, who understands human nature. Today is Saturday, and Harry lies on the bed for the first time in a long time. No matter how Ron calls, he just turns his body and ignores him. There was so much going on for Harry this week. At Hogwarts, there was a group of people who always looked at him with curiosity and even respect. Harry thought that everything would return to calm after everyone discovered that he was just a mediocre little wizard who is not a ghost, a being that almost all students avoid, dare not approach him. When facing Professor Quirrell, he clearly felt a warm and otherworldly power contained in his body. That power was different from his own magic power. From Harry's perception and experience of using it, magic power was more like his third-handed. He felt as if he had the satisfaction of the whole world. His exhaustion and disgust at the stench on Quirrell's body all poured into it, and finally disappeared. Isn't his title of the boy who lived a deserved one? What surprised Harry even more was that Dudley was also a wizard. He really felt it was a bit ironic how Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon would treat another unusual freak, their sweetheart, but it should be the same as before. For example, regarding Dudley's poor academic performance, Aunt Petunia repeatedly emphasized that Dudley was a very talented child, but the teachers did not understand him. Uncle Vernon insisted that he was not. He hoped that his son would become a sissy nerd, and often glanced at Harry when he said this. Even the teachers' comments about Dudley's bullying of his classmates were brushed aside lightly. He was a lively and active child, but he couldn't even bear to hurt a fly. Aunt Petunia always said it with tears in her eyes, as if she really believed it. Harry could even guess that Aunt Petunia would say that Dudley was too good at everything and could do magic, but Harry had led him astray. Uncle Vernon might even say that even though Dudley was the wizard, and the best one, unlike Harry, used a sissy stick. Thinking of this, Harry rolled over, changed to another position, and shrank comfortably into the bed. Dudley's arrival exposed Harry's past naked to all the wizards. Their eyes changed from admiration to pity. In the wrong he was very happy and ate happily. But this week's reports made him unhappy, at least that's what Harry thought at first. But he later discovered that the only thing that Ron made was that his name was missed. Look, my parents didn't even write to me, no one will believe it. Harry, what do you think? Should I publish a book and find a senior to help me write it? Well, the talkative sage is not bad, he has been saying that he wants to publish a book. Sometimes Harry really felt that there was something wrong with Ron's head. To use a word Ryan said before, yes, stupid. He is very understanding of human nature most of the time, but once he encounters a problem that interests him or is entangled with him, he will lose this ability. For example, he pestered Lisa Dupin and asked her about the curse, not paying attention to the black-faced expressions of Hermione and Lisa who were about to cry. He pestered himself and kept asking football-related questions, completely forgetting Harry's tragic past. Let yourself think about those painful memories just to understand football, and the cause was just the quarrel with Dean Thomas. Harry and Dean are different. Dean's Muggle adoptive father is very rich and has adopted many children, just enough to form a football team. It is not surprising that Dean likes football when he grows up in such an environment. As for me, I have clearly told Ron before that I have to do housework all day at my relative's house, so how can I have time to play and learn about football? At this time, Ron came over again, wanting to wake Harry up and go for a walk outside, but Harry pretended to be asleep and ignored him. This week, every time Harry's popularity dropped slightly, something new happened to make him dazzle again. Just yesterday, before the flying class, he, who had always been uneasy, was able to sit firmly on the broomstick. With that innate sense of familiarity, the moment he touched the broom, he felt like he had met a friend he hadn't seen for a long time. Although this spiritual thing was aware of his own uneasiness, he still surrendered subconsciously. After sitting on it, the place where his butt touches the broom really felt like a soft cushion. Elio Smith, he invented the seat cushion curse, is really amazing. Magic is really magical. Harry can recognize this broom as the meteor broom developed by Cosmic Broom Company, Limited in 1955. More than years later, it is still as useful as new and can be ridden and controlled by him. It's a shame that this broom loses speed and lift over time, but it's great for teaching and it's the cheapest competition broom to date. Just like in potions class, first years make cauldrons out of pewter. Harry still didn't understand why Cosmic Broomsticks went bankrupt in 1978. However, I heard from Ryan that it was because they were no longer satisfied with a low-end market and wanted to compete with the Sweet Broom Company and Comet Trading Company. They invested a lot of R&D funds and wanted to combine the safety of old-fashioned oak arrows with the best sweep series combined with ease of use, but it failed in the end. The boss was not as keen on Quidditch as the founders of the other two companies' bankruptcy. However, this also paved the way for the birth of Nimbus 1000. At that time, Devlin White-Tarn was working for Cosmic Broom Company, Limited, and left it after the company was unwilling to continue investing in research and development. He spent several years developing it with his own money. During this difficult period, he made a living by participating in broom competitions across Europe with the brooms he designed. Finally, with unremitting efforts, Nimbus 1000 was successfully born in 1966. It can reach a speed of 100 miles per hour and can make degree turns anywhere in the air. And in 1967, Devlin White-Tarn founded the Nimbus Racing Broom Company. This is why, after passing Roger's test and Professor Flitwick's agreement, Harry chose Nimbus 2000 instead of sweeping 7 stars. Harry was again and further attracted the attention of people from various colleges, which was why Harry never wanted to get up or go out. Even in the Ravenclaw common room, it does not mean that he is not attracting attention. There are many enthusiastic seniors and sisters who regard Harry as a hope and think that Voldemort is not dead yet. They all want to teach Harry some unique skills. There are tricks. The blonde, strong and honest chaser Henry, he recognized himself, and Harry was honestly not surprised. Chapter 133 Staff of Poseidon. At 10 o'clock, Harry was still lying on the bed in the Ravenclaw dormitory. Except for Ron, everyone understood why Harry didn't want to go out. Anthony, Harry's new little brother, also diligently brought back some feet and a glass of milk from the auditorium and placed them on Harry's bedside bedroom from time to time to see if Harry was up. He couldn't wait to take Harry to welcome the crowds of other students. Ron had never been so popular before. At this time, an unexpected person came into the dormitory. That was Hermione. Hermione. What's wrong with you? Can girls also enter the men's dormitory? Harry sat up suddenly and stammered. It's just a girls' dormitory. Boys are not allowed to enter. Harry, have you forgotten? Hermione was angry, but when she saw Ron's eye-catching beds, each bed had its name engraved in gold letters, she just understood something. During this period of time together, she also understood what kind of weirdo Ron was. While Harry and even Neville could not avoid the entanglement of others, he was the only one who enjoyed it. He even roped in a senior named Sage and said he wanted to publish a book. Oh, Harry, it must be Ron. Hermione thought she understood. Yes, but what did I forget? Harry still didn't remember. Look. Next to you. Hermione was angry. She looked like a long-haired cat with explosive hair. She pointed to Ryan's bed next to her. She couldn't talk about Atlantis-related things and Ryan was not there. Unable to act as a transit point, Hermione could only remind Harry in this way. Damn it. How could I forget? It must be Ryan. Harry suddenly realized. What does this have to do with Ryan? He has been living alone and unnoticed. If it weren't for XXXXX, he wouldn't have come to our attention. Hermione frowned. Looking at the angry Hermione in front of him, he decided not to tell her the pattern he discovered. Ryan's sense of existence was obviously controlled by himself. Harry's forgetfulness about Atlantis was also related to Ryan's deliberate shielding of Harry. The weather is fine, and we are in a castle in Nottingham Forest that ordinary people cannot label or detect. A figure suddenly appeared in front of the castle gate. The door opened automatically. A short creature with bulb eyes was already waiting not far behind the door with its head lowered. Master Ryan, here, this scepter is ready. House Elf Jack said, holding a crystal-clear scepter in his skinny hand, the body of which seemed to contain the sea. Yes, the appearance is quite deceptive. Let's use this scepter and this necklace later. Ryan nodded with satisfaction and touched the necklace given by Kate. Ryan didn't want to spend too much time taking Harry and Hermione to Atlantis this time, but if he directly took these two guys to space transfer to the bottom of the sea, then thinking about it with his own feet, his previous story would not stand up. Stop. But if he uses any door and uses the unique products of his Skywalker Alchemy workshop, Ryan feels that it is not powerful and not fun. So Ryan specially asked Jack to build a scepter that looked very scary, and then pretended that it was a very powerful magic prop. The same is true for Kate's necklace, which has another magical function. And this way, Kate can also see it, so that she can feel a little involved and no longer have a small mood because she broke the appointment last week. Okay, that's it. Ryan smiled slightly and disappeared on the spot. On the other side, Harry and Hermione, who had just been talking in the bedroom, heard a voice in their minds. Harry, Hermione, go straight out now. No one will notice you. Meet at the Black Lake of Hogwarts. It's Ryan. Harry, hurry up. Hermione said excitedly. Hermione, if you don't go out, how will I change my clothes? Harry complained. After a while, Harry and Hermione walked towards the door. Along the way, all the wizards regarded them as nothing, but that it was wrong. They still subconsciously avoided Harry and Hermione, but they didn't find it strange. Hermione was anxious to see Ryan, and also wanted to get to the bottom of the sea quickly, so she didn't pay too much attention to this magical scene. Harry, on the other hand, felt as if he had returned to the transparent life in elementary school for a long time. At that time, because of Dudley, no one felt like making friends with him. Harry felt strange, but now he was enjoying it, which made him slow down involuntarily. Ouch! My shoe fell off. Harry suddenly walked slowly, and Hermione stepped on the heel of his shoe. If that's all, the shoes won't be left behind. This is all because Harry has developed the habit of wearing Dudley's old clothes since he was a child. Although he is often laughed at for his baggy clothes, when Harry buys clothes, he still subconsciously chooses one size larger, and the same goes for his shoes. Sorry, come on, Harry. Hermione apologized, pacing in place anxiously. After a while, Hermione and Harry arrived at the Black Lake. Although it was only September, the weather had already become very cold. The mountains around the school were gray and some trees had lost their leaves. The colorful ballfish also disappeared. Why is there no one? Hermione rubbed her little hands. Although Harry was short-sighted, he was extraordinarily sharp, but maybe he had something to do with the fact that his glasses were no longer taped shut. I saw a whirlpool near the edge of the lake. It kept turning and turning. After about 10 seconds, a water column emerged from the whirlpool. He was wearing Hogwarts clothes and a Ravenclaw school badge. This is Kate Lewinster. She is in 5th grade. You two must have met her. She is also in Hogwarts. She is the only one who has been to Atlantis. Ryan, he said with a cane. Harry looked at the frosty Kate and seemed to understand why she wanted to spread the news on Wednesday afternoon that Madame Pomfrey was not in the school infirmary and that he would go there. But no, the world of two became a foursome because of himself and Hermione. Ryan was so charming, but he knew very well that Harry couldn't believe that there was someone in the world who was not attracted by Ryan's smile. Ryan, what is this? Harry could only smile awkwardly, then changed the subject and pointed to the scepter in Ryan's hand. This is the rod of Poseidon. It can travel anywhere there is water. We are going to Atlantis through it. Ryan pointed at this thing seriously, and Kate on the side was still expressionless. But laughing loudly in Ryan's mind. I would like to thank my classmates Sister World and others for their rewards and other classmates for their recommendations and subscriptions. Chapter 134 The Legend of Three Brothers. Chapter 134 The Legend of the Three Brothers. At 10:50, four little wizards stood by the cold windy lake. Oh, is this really something a wizard can do? Hermione exclaimed as she looked at the scepter with a turbulent body. Having received a Muggle education, she understood that Bermuda, located in the southeastern part of the Florida Peninsula in North America, Harry was stunned at how far the triangle was from Scotland. Hermione, do you remember what I told you? Ryan asked, leaning on his cane. Magic is a miracle. The first step to learn magic is to believe that you can do anything. You can't do it now, that's just now. Hermione said. Ryan nodded, touched Hermione's little head, and Harry beside him. Kate could only pretend not to see it, and Kate pouted. Ryan, then, resurrection. Harry suddenly thought of something and looked excited. Oh, when it comes to resurrection, I have to mention a story from the tales of Beedle the poet, a well-known poet in the wizarding world. Hush, Harry, listen to my introduction first. Are familiar with Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty? Should I get to the point quickly? Ryan glanced at the anxious Harry and the doubtful Hermione. That story is the legend of Death and the Three Brothers, Lane said. Death? Is there really a god? I mean, how could there be one? Only God. I mean, he could also be a wizard. Ryan, Hermione, in my opinion, you are not lacking in intelligence, but unfortunately you are too narrow-minded, short-sighted and closed-minded. Do you remember the patron saint? The invincible Andros, a wizard in ancient Greece, a backward existence in your eyes, but he can summon a patron saint the size of a giant. Nicarim, an alchemist more than 600 years ago, he crafted the most powerful alchemical item ever created, the Philosopher's Stone, which allowed him to create elixirs of life and turn other metals into gold, and to this day he and his wife Peril are still living in seclusion in France. Until now, there are also many alchemy families gathered there who are eager to obtain and reproduce the Philosopher's Stone, which is why French alchemy is the most powerful. They are all wizards who are ancient in your eyes and lag behind modern magic. Ryan said seriously. But Nicholas Flamel, could it be a fabrication too? How is that possible? Hermione stammered. Dumbledore's well-known contributions include defeating the Dark Wizard Grindelwald in 1945, discovering the 12 uses of dragon's blood, and being effective in alchemy with his partner Nicholas Flamel. Hermione, don't interrupt. These are the exact words on the chocolate frog. Nico Flamel is indeed still alive. Harry said dissatisfied. Ryan, can you continue? Wait a minute, is it possible that Nico Flamel is just the external name inherited by the most outstanding wizard of each generation in the Flamel family? Hermione still couldn't believe it and questioned. That's enough, Hermione, don't question the existence that you have no contact with. Immortality is not just a legend. Phoenix is an immortal magical species. Even the Muggle world has discovered an immortal creature, the Turritopsis dohrnii creature. Ryan emphasized. Okay, let me continue to tell you the legend of the three brothers. There were three brothers, all of them were powerful wizards. They escaped the trap set by the God of Death with their intelligence and powerful magic. The God of Death appeared and told the three brothers that each of them could get something as a reward. And gave it the magic of bringing the dead back to life. Harry, this is what you are most interested in, that part, but, the story has to be finished. The third child is the smartest. He understands that the God of Death must have bad intentions. He only made one request, the ability to avoid being discovered by the God of Death. The God of Death could only reluctantly agree to him and took off his invisible cloak. In the end, the boss was indeed invincible, but after leaving the battlefield, he was just immortal. Just like that, in an unknown tavern, the wand was taken away and his own throat was cut. The second brother couldn't wait to resurrect his lover, but she was sad and indifferent, and there seemed to be a layer of sand between them. Although she returned to the world, she did not really belong here. In the end, she committed suicide in order to truly be with her, Ryan concluded. Hermione and Harry listened quietly, almost holding their breath, while Kate on the side had already called Ryan in her heart. The mind game started again. Is this the only story? Is there any other evidence? Hermione asked eagerly, while Harry next to glared at her. The Elder Wand is best known for its unique inheritance method. Only by seizing the wand from the previous owner can one become its true owner. The evil Egbert obtained the wand after killing the evil Emeric. Period. Godlet died in the cellar of his house after his son Hereward took the wand of Gunter, the descendant of Slytherin, and finally disappeared without a trace. The invisibility cloak, Harry, you should be most familiar with. It has always been in the hands of Potter, but now it should be in the hands of Dumbledore. Ryan said in a wicked way. How could it be? If there was an invisibility cloak, my mother, father, Dumbledore wouldn't be what Rita Skeeter said, but Nicholas Flamel's his friend. He wouldn't. Holly suddenly paced on the spot and roared. Everything was connected. Because of his old age, Dumbledore had a quarrel with his friend Nick, and in the end he could only pay attention to his family's invisibility cloak. Ryan, Dumbledore shouldn't be such a person, he is so kind, then Hermione said eagerly. Hermione can be considered a little fan of Dumbledore. Originally, the world line was because he went to Georgia. Lampfinder. Well, yes, as far as I know, Dumbledore just borrowed the invisibility cloak from your parents to study it. Explained. Loyalty charm can hide a secret into another person's soul. As long as he doesn't reveal the secret, that secret or location cannot be known or reached by outsiders. Hermione said, and Ryan looked at Hermione in surprise. It's really amazing. Although this spell is powerful, it is very difficult to cast. Hermione has actually heard of it. For a Muggle-born little witch, she was far too knowledgeable. In Ryan's opinion, only Dumbledore can cast the Loyalty Curse. Otherwise, why wouldn't the Loyalty Curse be used to protect their respective strongholds when Harry was transferred after Dumbledore's death? Chapter 135 Necklace. At 11:15, on the shore of the Black Lake, an ugly mermaid slightly came out of the water and looked around, but turned a blind eye to the four Ryans in front of him. Wait a minute, if the Loyalty Curse is really that powerful, then my parents must have been killed because of the person who kept the secret. Ryan, do you know who the secret keeper is? Harry suddenly woke up and became rational. Secret keeper? You can find by checking out by old newspapers that Sirius Black should be the secret keeper. However, this case was not tried, and he was imprisoned directly in Azkaban. There are still many doubts. After Voldemort died, he madly hunted down another friend of your father, Peter Pettigrew, and then in Pettigrew he laughed like crazy in front of the wreckage, did not resist, and was caught directly. Ryan still reminded that for Sirius, he had no urgency to take the initiative to avenge him, but he would not slander him either. No. Trial? Harry asked doubtfully. How can the Ministry of Magic be like this? Hermione's eyes widened, and her young mind discovered the darkness of the world for the first time. Ryan, I'm afraid no one knows the whereabouts of the props given by the three gods of death. What do you think? Harry keenly discovered the loophole that Ryan had deliberately left. Sure enough, talking to smart people is fun. To be more precise, the three brothers should be the three Peveril brothers, namely Antiochus, Cadmus, and Ignitus. I am the descendant of the eldest Antioch, Slytherin's Gaunt is the descendant of the second eldest Cadmus, and Harry, you are the descendant of Ignitus. Hallows, those three props, best. Except for the invisibility cloak, I can say that I know the whereabouts of the other two, but I can't say. Harry, the resurrection stone you are most concerned about is now in a place full of magic traps. Even a wizard of Dumbledore's level will have to work hard. Ryan said with a smile. Now he has nothing to worry about. Yes, he nonchalantly revealed information that many wizards wanted to know even at the risk of their lives. So, Ryan, when will I know, and aren't we going to Atlantis? Harry said. At this time, for the first time, he found the second person who defeated Voldemort, who didn't know whether he was still the target. The target, that is the magic stone. Then, Atlantis, which made Ryan such a powerful wizard, became even more important in Harry's heart. Hermione blushed, and she suddenly realized that she had forgotten everything, and her attention had just been focused on Ryan's profile and pleasant voice, was a necklace hanging with a polygonal crystal. Kate on the side smiled slightly. This was a birthday gift given to Ryan by him on his 11th birthday. It was just a very ordinary necklace. This necklace has a very magical function. It can create an extra body for you. The consumption of magic power is borne by me as the user. If it were up to you, this body would disappear in less than an hour. Ryan intended. He stroked the crystal pretendingly, and a golden beam of light shot out, falling on the grass, and 4 things with no facial features and barely humanoid shapes appeared. Harry, Hermione, this is your first time, pull out your wand and insert it. Ryan instructed. Can you insert it anywhere? Harry was eager to try. Yes, Ryan replied, and Hermione followed it carefully. Harry couldn't wait to insert it where the nostrils of the humanoid should be. It seems that Harry Potter really has a special hobby for nostrils. When dealing with a troll in the original world line, he inserted his wand into the troll's nostril, and it was covered with large pieces of gray gelatinous substance. Then, in the real world on the other side, on the grass beside the Black Lake, human figures emitted a dazzling golden light, and 2 Harrys and 2 Hermiones appeared. It's amazing, it's like I have 2 perspectives. Harry touched himself curiously, and at the same time he felt the touch. Oops. Hermione was clumsy and fell on her butt. It was still a bit difficult for her to control 2 bodies at the same time. Then, Ryan and Kate also intended to insert human figures, with Ryan as the forehead and Kate as the heart. Okay, I suggest that you don't move your original body first, and control the other body to go to the restroom, or a place like the bedroom where you don't need to move too much. Okay, let's wait where we are for a while. Ryan said then. The other 4 people walked back to the gate of Hogwarts, climbed the steps in front of the gate, then climbed the marble stairs inside, unscrewed the doors, and strode through the corridors. After about 10 minutes of touching, the 4 people on the grass opened their eyes. Okay, we're ready to go. By the way, Harry and Hermione, have you ever played on the slide? If so, I think you will find it very familiar. Ryan said with a bad smile, and Harry suddenly had a bad feeling. Ryan took the magical scepter and pointed toward the lake, only to see a hole suddenly appear on the water. Harry looked down curiously, but couldn't see anything. What? You can't wait any longer. Okay, Harry, just jump down first. Ryan pretended not to notice that Harry was just looking. Now, Harry had no choice but to jump down. Then, there was no sound, and Harry Potter seemed to have entered another world. At Ryan's signal, Hermione also closed her eyes and jumped down. Careful, you jumped wrong. Ryan took out his wand and pointed it at Hermione. Fortunately, he was discovered by Ryan in time and floated in the air. Hermione's face turned red, and before she could say thank you, Ryan flicked his wand and she sank into the hole. Hermione's scream stopped abruptly. Ryan, you are so bad, I like it so much. Kate smiled and leaned against Ryan, fumbling with the necklace she gave her. As long as you like it, then it's time for the 2 of us. Ryan said, putting his arm around Kate's shoulders. But don't we need to follow behind? The 2 little wizards are there alone and don't see us. They won't be frightened. Kate suddenly thought, how can she be considered a senior, so she deceived her junior? They are not good, eh? Control this passage. Even if we set off in 2 hours, when we get to Atlantis, they will only find that we are behind them. Besides, it's so far away that it takes a long time on the road, so it's reasonable. Ryan explained. The next second, the 2 of them disappeared. At the same time, the hole slowly healed and returned to its original shape, the calm lake surface. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 136, Journey to the Undersea Sea. The date between the Ravenclaws was so unpretentious and boring. While Ryan and Kate found a random bookstore in London and hid in a corner to read together, Harry and Hermione experienced the most thrilling adventure in their lives. Harry kept screaming at first, and then he discovered a terrifying thing. That was silence, extremely quiet. Logically speaking, there should be others behind him, but only his own voice lingered in his ears. And at this moment, his perception of the other body gradually disappeared, and even his memory of this aspect no longer existed. After an unknown amount of time, Harry finally regained his composure, and he began to notice the unusual scenery around him. As winter approaches, the sun shines into the sea through the sea surface, but it cannot give people a sense of warmth. Colorful and strange fishes, jellyfish, and corals flashed by, bringing a little warmth to the lonely Harry. Harry stroked the wall of the hole. It had a strange touch. It felt slightly warm to the touch, not like it was made of seawater. There was a rebound feeling when he pressed lightly with his fingertips. Furthermore, after sliding for so long, the friction should have made his pants hot or even damaged. But until now, that incomparable silky feeling came from his buttocks, which was a bit shameful to say. Harry even wanted to close his eyes and stop admiring this scenery that ordinary people could hardly see in their lifetime, and just enjoy this kind of scenery. A bit strange, considering how fast he could see the surrounding scenery clearly. It would probably take several days to skate from England, Scotland, to the Bermuda Triangle in the southeastern part of the Florida Peninsula in North America. Harry touched his pocket for the leftover foot that Anthony had brought from the Great Hall, mentally assessing how long he could last. It is said that people can live for 7 days with water. If you lick this pipe that should be condensed by water, will you feel thirsty? How to solve the problem when going to the toilet? Harry can stretch his body at most through this pipe, and it keeps sliding, and the wall is so smooth that he cannot use force or even stop. However, Harry still believed in Ryan, but if a person was alone and kept in claustrophobia, he would inevitably have some negative and pessimistic thoughts. Harry thought he was already used to it. When he was a child, he spent a lot of time alone in the storage room under the stairs. Whenever he made Aunt Petunia angry, he would be sent to his room, the locker under the stairs. At that time, spiders were his only friends. After all, the storage room was full of spiders and he was already used to it. Harry slowly felt that he was no longer a wizard, as if he was 7 or 8 years old again. He began to mutter to himself, talking to the creatures swimming around him, and giving them various names. Slowly, Harry closed his eyes and fell into sleep. Hermione on the side was much luckier. The time she felt was not as long as Harry's. She screamed like Harry at first, and then curiously touched the wall of the pipe, thinking about what it was. Materials, how they are composed. Hermione has been to the aquarium, but the fish in the aquarium are far less rich and interesting than the real seabed. She looked, and just when she was about to get a little bored, she fell asleep inexplicably so short. Ryan estimated that it was already 12 hours, 34 minutes, and 23 seconds milliseconds. Ryan stood up and stretched out his hand. Kate understood the next second that it was time. She put down the book, rubbed her eyes, and held it. The next second, the two of them also appeared in the tunnel that traveled under the sea without anyone noticing. Kate in front and Ryan in the back. It reappeared. It was already the bottom of the Bermuda Triangle. Not far away, there is a huge flat-top pyramid made of translucent glass-like material. A pipe like a swimming sea snake on the bottom of the sea was inserted into the top of the pyramid. Harry and Hermione suddenly woke up from their deep sleep. What's going on? You're here so soon. Harry touched his stomach books, but this one was strange. The top was flat. Is this Atlantis? Hermione also exclaimed, obsessed with watching the scene in front of her. In less than a minute, they slid into the pyramid, which turned out to be a city with its own sky and even its own sun. Furthermore, the material of the surrounding passages has also changed significantly, becoming friction-like and made of translucent, glass-like material, the same as the flat-top pyramid I saw before. This is a city full of bubbles, just like pomegranates. The environment inside some bubbles is land, with flowers, trees, and all kinds of magical creatures, fortune tellers, botricles, hairy crabs, tree monkeys, frogs, and balls inside. Grindylows are like puppies raised by people on land, wearing chains that look like kelp. Being pushed around by the mermaids, they played a game of catching shells. They come in all kinds of shapes, including fish tanks, sharks, dolphins, flying carpets, toilets, sofas, beds and other aircraft in the sky. Wondering. Harry and Hermione had never seen anything similar to their costumes. The only thing that came closest was the weirdo Ulrich wearing a jellyfish hat. They use kelp, jellyfish, coral, and various parts of various aquatic creatures as materials for their clothing. Their wands are also unusual. Only a few of them are made of wood, and most of them use bones, corals, and strange crystals as wands. Harry and Hermione looked and looked. Although the speed of falling seemed to be deliberately slow, they still fell into a pool of crystal clear fluid before they could get enough of it. Then, they were surprised to find that they could breathe in the pool. Chapter 137 The Habits of the Undersea Wizard. Time 12:15, Atlantis under the Bermuda Triangle. The surrounding crowds of people were passing by, not paying attention to the four wizards who entered outside the prescribed shift. Ryan also did not deliberately reduce the presence of the four. The only reason is that in the past 3 years, they have become accustomed to Ryan's visit, from resisting and ignoring it at the beginning to accepting it now. Of course, because of the contract, even if the wizards of Atlantis resisted, they just wanted to use various magic spells to control Ryan. But they failed. Even Ryan was as powerful as he was 3 years ago. The control spell was no more than a breeze for him with the magic power of the Phoenix. Furthermore, Ryan's body is also very powerful. High mobility brings about the free release of magic spells. No matter how powerful the magic spell is, it is of no use that they are not strong. There are many wizards here, especially the old wizards, who are at level 5. If Dumbledore breaks in and is besieged by this group of wizards, he may have to surrender like snakes, and they are very red. And he doesn't mind killing people. The underwater wizard may be confused when he encounters such a powerful wizard for the first time. All in all, the current wizards of Atlantis have become accustomed to Ryan's invasion. This time, besides Kate, Ryan has only 2 other little wizards around him. Newcomers are probably no exception. Especially the one with the glasses. He looks silly at first glance, but his eyes are better. Damn Ron. Harry stood there for a long time, unable to recover. This was the first thing he said, but the 3 people around him were not surprised at all. After exiting the passage, Harry connected to the clone that was still in Hogwarts, as Hermione did, and Ryan and Kate had never disconnected from the beginning. Harry was finally met by Ron at Hogwarts. Now he was tired of dealing with some seniors and sisters who usually focused on studying and had no time to eat and gossip. Hermione had to sneak back to the bedroom so that she could relax and concentrate on the underwater world, the pearl of the world, Atlantis. Harry, can you hear me? Hermione asked with concern. Kate suppressed a smile, and her clone and body ate melon at the same time. It's barely possible. It's too troublesome to control 2 bodies at the same time. Fortunately, the other body is sitting on the sofa in the lounge, and I can still move around freely. Ryan, where's the library? Harry reluctantly glanced at the magnificent and strange scenery around him, but then he made up his mind. Without high magical attainments, it would be impossible for him to get the place where the resurrection stone was hidden. Ryan also had no intention of taking the item. He thought that there must be a more powerful wizard watching behind the item, perhaps the god of death in the legend of the 3 brothers. Okay, I'll take you out of Hogwarts. I can't leave you without food. The wizards here are very welcoming and don't need currency. They all use points. Points come from contributions to the city. Basic survival resources such as food alone do not require points, nor does reading books. Exchange for cherished materials that cannot be provided to everyone for the time being. You also need to use points to enjoy delicious food. You don't have to worry about this. Ryan led the 4 of them towards the direction where the hotel should be, greeting the wizards they met on the road from time to time. The ground here is all single soil, not rigid and paved with pebbles and the like, but it is surprisingly clean and does not dirty your shoes. It must be some kind of magic. Along the way, in addition to the common shops selling clothing, oxygen masks, that fish tank-like thing, an aircraft, there are more local stalls. They are all homemade gadgets, including dragon dolls that fly and hunt like living creatures, mirrors that can be used for temporary cosmetic surgery, and transplantable wigs made of seaweed, particularly loved by Mediterranean wizards, or some maverick young people. Wizard, can be directly attached to the gills of the neck, etc. Ryan, what is this? Hermione pointed to a small shop not far away where many young wizards gathered. These young wizards are not only weird about their clothes. Some of them are bare-chested and have a very thick octopus tentacle where their navel should be. Some of them have their lower bodies directly inserted into the squid. It looks similar to a mermaid, a bit like the character Luo wanted to play in the movie Mermaid in his previous life. There are also many suction cups installed on the elbows and thighs. This is similar to the hairdressers in the Muggle world. They mainly sell organs that can be transplanted and grown as decoration. It is similar to the transplantable seaweed wigs at the previous stalls, but it is just more bold and avant-garde. The young wizards here have no pressure to survive, so they can study and research. They will also come here to purchase the parts they want and assemble them. Ryan sighed. This is so cruel. Those animals had parts of their bodies removed and made into such playful things. If it's for eating, I can understand it, but... Hermione said angrily, and she used her extra kindness without knowing the specific situation. Lane could understand it. After all, she grew up in a middle-class white family, and this was the education she received as a child. It is inevitable that they are a bit unworldly, claiming to be civilized, and condescendingly criticizing other people's civilization without much understanding. There were many such people in Ryan's world in his previous life, who were called white lefts. To be honest, Hermione was better than them. She took action and did good things to fight, instead of occupying the moral high ground and being self-satisfied. Everything you can think of, they can think of. In their culture, these parts are still alive. Transplanting them into the wizard's body is itself a sign of respect for them. Ryan emphasized, while leading the three people, interspersed in the crowd. Finally, not far away, a building that looked like a huge whale appeared in front of everyone. Chapter 138 Hi's Hiba Restaurant. Time, 12, Chumbucket Restaurant. Ryan and his three little ones stood in front of this huge whale-shaped restaurant. There were people coming and going here, and it seemed very popular. Hey Karen, this time for 4 people, the Krusty Krab set meal. Ryan enthusiastically shouted to the tall brown-haired girl walking around in the crowd. The King of the Sea is one of the most famous restaurants in Atlantis. They specialize in crab cuisine, and the techniques used to cook crabs are unique, even otherworldly. Their boss is Sheldon J. Plankton, who founded this husband and wife shop with his lover Karen. SpongeBob SquarePants is their chef, Squidward Tentacles is the cashier, and Patrick Star is the waiter. When Ryan heard about this store for the first time, he was almost stunned. Isn't this the ruffian boss and his computer wife Karen? As for SpongeBob, Squidward, and Patrick, it's not surprising that they already worked at Seamaster. This is simply a combination version of the King of the Sea and the Krusty Krab. As for where Mr. Krabs went, Ryan was probably made into a dish, and isn't Mr. Krabs' daughter a whale? Don't worry about it. Since Ryan discovered this restaurant, the taste is indeed outstanding, so he has come to dine every time he has time. Hey, Ryan, I haven't seen you in 2 weeks. Has our family's level dropped recently? If so, let me ask Spanky. Short Sheldon appeared, wearing a green suit, which made Hermione and Harry look particularly friendly. Atlantis also had wizards dressed normally. No, dear Sheldon, I should have said before that I am already 11 years old and it's time to go to Hogwarts. Ryan shrugged and took the seaweed drink from Sheldon. Added a lot of popping beads. It tastes refreshing and chewy. You are really 11 years old. If we hadn't always had people outside, I would have thought that the development of outside magic was a century ahead of us. At your level, you still need to go to Hogwarts. Our school in Atlantis is considered the best. Okay, Harry, Hermione, let me explain to you why I think the grounds of Hogwarts are more important. How do you think spells are learned and mastered? Ryan looked at Harry and Hermione's confused eyes, explained, and asked. Learning spells, speaking clearly, waving the wand in a regular pattern, and being determined. Hermione replied. Bingo, to be precise. Successful spellcasting requires 3 conditions, the incantation, the gesture, i.e. the trajectory of the wand waving, and determination. They are contained in the magic magnetic field. Have you ever thought about why 3 key points can produce corresponding phenomena through a wand? Ryan asked. Hermione and Harry shook their head. The magic magnetic field is like a network. The first person to create a phenomenon names it, and it is like a file on a network disk. The latecomers download their own magic source through the name at the same place or even time, which is the source of their magic. Download the file to your computer. The act of downloading deepens the imprint because of the interaction between the wizard and a magnetic field, which means it is easier to find the file and the download speed is much faster. With the evolution of magic, a complete spell that has been passed down for a long time, that is, our modern magic, requires not only the name when downloading, but also the trajectory of the one swinging as a password. Coupled with the determination that is already required, this also makes modern magic easier to learn, and more stable and less likely to cause life-threatening dangers. Then this means that a stable, ancient place for education and learning, where learning magic is easy to get started and progress. Ryan finally explained. Hermione and Harry agreed, eager to find a note to write it down. No, Hermione really brought notes, always a muggle pen and notebook. Hermione, let me copy it when you get back, Harry said, and Hermione agreed and agreed. At this time, Karen came in pushing a cart with a Krusty Krab for 4 people. The Krusty Krab was not a burger, which disappointed Ryan at first. His food is a king crab cooked in almost all common ways, piled together according to the taste, and the flavors will not mix and complement each other. But when she saw Harry eating it without ceremony, she started to get started. The most outstanding thing about this dish is actually the control of taste. Even if it is just crab meat, no matter how delicious it is, you will still get tired of it. But it is different. Each flavor and taste is different. Even the previous flavor is paving the way for the next one, making you want to take another bite after taking one. It was one. After dinner, Ryan and his group walked slowly towards the library. Harry, Hermione, anyone can borrow the books here, but outsiders cannot borrow them, they can only read them in the library. Finishing speaking, the library is here. This library is very large, and its design style is obviously different from other houses. It should have been designed by early wizards. At that time, they had not lived in isolation, and their style was not as bold and avant-garde as it is now. There are sculptures on both sides of the road, and the origins and deeds of each marble sculpture are recorded in gold letters under the base. They were the sages who discovered the still broken Atlantis, formed an alliance with the mermaids, repaired it, made a contract, and built a city. These people are amazing. Hermione looked at the gilded words under the sculpture curiously, while Harry refused to stop and hurried towards the library. Harry, I suggest you borrow the first-year textbook from the academy directly, Ryan prompted. Academy. Harry stopped in confusion. Their magic school is called Academy, Ryan said. Harry then walked quickly into the library. There was no staff inside. Every book here was floating in the air, and there were gleaming metal blocks for anti-theft protection on the spine of each book, matching the magic sky, like dotted with stars. As long as you ask a question, books that you think are related to the question will fly over and get closer for you to choose from. After Harry thought about the first-year textbook of the college, 7 stars slid down from the top of the starry sky and surrounded Harry. 1 potions. It's incredible, Harry muttered. Chapter 139. Is this also potions? Is this a potion? Is this also a potion? Harry couldn't help but sigh. The process of making potions in the academy was completely different from what was taught at Hogwarts now. Harry couldn't believe that this was also potions or refined semi-finished products. The materials used need to be ground into powder, chopped into pieces, or crushed into puree. I heard that the juice needs to be extracted, but the knowledge that Harry is currently exposed to does not involve it. Second, heat. Observe the color change of the liquid in the crucible, and add materials at the appropriate time. Third, stirring. This is different from cooking. Magic potions strictly stipulate the number of times of stirring, clockwise and counterclockwise. The fourth is the participation of the wizard himself. If it were a muggle, there would be no mistakes in the previous steps, and the result would be just a pot of waste. What's more, some potions even require the participation of a wand. There is no need to read an inexplicable word. As for the spell, Ryan said it was consecration, which was very appropriate. The potions textbook of the magic school named Academy changed to a different style in the 1st grade. It explained the nature of potions at the beginning, which is the product of a ritual involving the physical properties of materials and magic. The Academy's potions class has almost completely abandoned the crucible in the 1st grade. It will also use potion materials, but the content has become a wizard's participation, and the heating and stirring of the crucible have all disappeared. The process of making Academy Edition potion is as follows. The first is magic immersion. There is no need for the assistance of a magic wand. Beginners are advised to directly touch some touchable materials with their hands, imagine that it is a part of themselves, and feel the slight warmth in their fingertips. Second, extraction. This step requires a magic spell, which is the basis of the Academy's potion process. It is required for the production of all subsequent potions precipitated things. Some of the more high-end potions still require the participation of a wizard, who must mix them step by step, and some even require consecration. The consecration spells are also analyzed in detail in the Academy's textbooks. They are all evolutions of Old English or other lost languages, representing the names of potions' own expression. After seeing this book for the first time, surprise and shame. 3 years ago, Ryan was arrogant. When he first went to Atlantis, he was with Kate. At that time, after he read some journal contents and realized that they were only relative truths, he no longer regarded them as relative truths. The knowledge here is taken seriously, and I even read the history. I hate the most squibs. Without the involvement of magic, they just mixed some materials to create some common potions. At that time, Ryan was preparing to build a new Smith castle. During that period, Ryan once again felt what it was like to live a tight life. Let the new and the old complement each other. If the ritual of escaping from attention fails, at least he can survive in the real castle, popping up from time to time to the real world to take a breath, and then come out when he is powerful enough to sweep away everything. But the consumption at that time was also huge, almost wiping out the accumulation of Ryan's ancestors. At this time, Ryan was surprised and ashamed to find that Atlantis could still be like this. If he had known this earlier, he would not have had to spend so much money. Saved up. If Muggles can do it, they just need to find a factory in a third world country, use confusion spells, and make some potions that are often used and consumed. Will this still lead to a shortage of gold galleons? Does he still need to write books, set up an alchemy workshop, and do business? The magic potion of Atlantis is undoubtedly a groundbreaking invention in Ryan's opinion. He eliminates the need for wizards to guard the crucible to make potions. They can impregnate multiple materials and precipitate them at the same time, leaving the rest to Muggles or demons. A wizard with average level of medicine is enough. If we follow the original process, no matter how skilled the potion master is, he can only rely on his proficiency in making potions to make several copies at the same time, or simply boil a large pot of the same potion. This kind of efficiency is really too slow. If the wizards in the Academy are skilled and soaked in potion materials, it can usually be done in one breath, and consumes less magic power. In addition, magic power is actually like a muscle for wizards. When talking about consumption, it is just to make it easier to understand. The magic power consumed does not directly reduce the muscles, but consumes physical strength. A can of Coke. As a result, Ryan visited Atlantis many times. With Ryan's continuous efforts, he finally reached a strategic partnership with Atlantis. They contributed people and Ryan contributed. Even the channels that Smith has passed down from generation to generation, Ryan reluctantly shared and opened them to the wizards of Atlantis for the sake of cooperation. What kind of noble and selfless spirit is this? Ryan gets gold galleons, the underwater wizard gets materials, the wizarding world gets cheaper potions, and we all have a bright future. Although Ryan no longer needs to be as busy as before, and this cooperation is no longer necessary, recent discoveries have made Ryan find that these little brothers in Atlantis are still quite useful, and Yu Chang and the others are also connected. Under Ryan's persuasion, Moon City actually placed an order through Atlantis, as long as they receive the huge door. The moon, this beauty whose face is half hidden while holding a pipe, will also welcome Ryan. For the unity and development of the wizarding world, Ryan is duty-bound. Unknowingly, it was already night. Harry still wanted to stay in Atlantis, but Ryan sternly refused. Harry, controlling two bodies for a long time will cause you to be severely traumatized. It's getting late. If you go back now, you can still make it in time for dinner at Hogwarts. Okay, Ryan, but luckily I got rid of Ron this afternoon, and the other body was lying in the bedroom. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to read the book this afternoon. Harry reluctantly put down the book, and the book turned into a meteor flew back to the starry sky. Ryan, how are we going to go back? Should we still see the staff of Poseidon? Hermione said with lingering fear. You don't have to go to such trouble when you go back. Ryan intended to stroke the necklace on his chest. The next second, the four of them disappeared on the spot, and the real ones replaced them in another body at Hogwarts. Harry gasped, and after the intense feeling of weightlessness, he opened his eyes in the Ravenclaw dormitory, as if he had never left thanks to classmate 20220115110332204 for the reward, classmates Lily and Yuang for the monthly tickets, and other classmates for the recommendation. Chapter 140: The Arrival of the Flying Broomstick. About a week later, as the owls crowded into the large dining room as usual, everyone's attention was caught by a slender package carried by 6 screech owls. Harry was as eager as anyone to know what was in the package. Unexpectedly, several owls circled down and landed right in front of him, knocking his bacon to the floor. He was astonished. They had just flapped their wings and flew away when another owl brought a letter and dropped it on the package. Tore open the letter first. It read, "The new broomstick Nimbus 2000 you purchased from me has arrived. Although almost all the students know about it, I don't recommend you open it directly, lest they all want to purchase it from me. Roger Davis will be waiting for you on the Quidditch pitch at 7 o'clock tonight to give you your first training session." Professor Flitwick. To be honest, Harry had almost forgotten that since he went to Atlantis a week ago, he had hardly gone out except for classes. He has been studying the magical knowledge from there and looking at this semester's courses from a more advanced perspective. Harry is not boasting. He has tried and succeeded in all the spells he should master this semester. This also had a benefit, because Harry had been staying away, and now few people were talking about Rita Skeeter's report, and everything was calm again. 2 bodies for a long time. Because of the arrival of the broom, Harry suddenly remembered the question he wanted to ask at that time. "Oh, insomnia," Ryan said, but felt that it was not serious, and added, "long-term insomnia." That's it. Harry was speechless and choked, looking like a salty fish who had lost his dream. If he had asked at that time, would he have been able to stay in Atlantis for a while longer? The arrival of the broom couldn't make him a little happy now. Ron's attention was attracted by the broom. He pulled Harry up and wanted to find a place where no one was around to unpack the package before the first class. Then he led other Ravenclaw students to class together to avoid encountering Peeves. However, as they passed through the hall, they found that the way upstairs was blocked by Crabbe and Goyle. "It's a broomstick, there's nothing wrong with it," he said, throwing the package back to Harry, with a slightly worried expression on his face. Ron turned away and secretly showed that he was about to vomit. "Potter, I just noticed that you looked crying after you got the broom. What's wrong? Are the guys on the Ravenclaw team ostracizing you? Is it that Chaser Henry?" Malfoy's pale cheeks were slightly red, and there was anger in his eyes. Just when Harry was about to ask Malfoy how he knew about Henry and how he looked down on the younger students, Ron couldn't hold himself back any longer. "What are you talking about? That Henry is also a fan of Harry. I think you want to chat because Harry hasn't been out recently," he said. "Harry is my friend. Wouldn't you notice?" Ron grinned at Malfoy. "If you had understood the impact of Rita Skeeter's reporting, you would not have failed to understand why Harry distanced himself from you. What do you know? Weasley, you poor wretch who can't even afford half a broom handle, I think all your stupid head is focused on the Nimbus 2000. Malfoy retorted fiercely, "If the report on Rita Skeeter is mentioned, should it be you who should leave Harry?" Ron Weasley, the passionate and voracious Ronnie. Before Ron could answer, Professor Flitwick appeared at Malfoy's elbow. Harry was secretly glad that no matter which side he was on in this conflict, he was wrong. He even thought just now that it would be great if Malfoy was a girl. He was so careful. Wrong. He must be crazy. Ryan, who was hiding in the corner and secretly influencing Harry, shook his head sadly. "I hope it's not a quarrel, children," he asked in a high voice, looking at the broom. "You should all know about Harry's special situation," Professor Flitwick said, smiling broadly at Harry. "Harry, what model is it?" "Nimbus 2000, sir. It has nothing to do with broomsticks. It's just a slapstick between friends," Harry said. Malfoy on the side secretly made faces at Ron, while silently making the mouth movements of his friend. Ron's ears turned red, and then his face turned almost as red as his hair, but he tried desperately not to let it out. "Professor Flitwick, let's go first. We need to put the brooms back in the lounge first," Harry added. Harry pulled Ron upstairs, and Malfoy's footsteps behind him were obviously much lighter. It seems that Draco Malfoy is really worried about being alienated by Harry Potter. Kate suddenly appeared from behind Ryan and said, "Well, the worry's real, but this is just an excuse to test Harry. Ron's friendship with Harry's real, but he is too careless." Ryan continued, not at all frightened by Kate's sudden appearance. "Look to scare you lately." Kate turned away depressed and squatted on the ground, indicating that she would never get up without coaxing her. Kate also has an active skill that naturally reduces her presence, but for Ryan now, It's just a small case. The owner of the broomstick, and his thoughts kept flying to the bedroom. Under Harry's bed, Harry's new broomstick was lying under his bed. After the day's lessons, Ron would occasionally ask to go to the Quidditch pitch tonight to see what it was like. The newly promoted younger brother Anthony also showed up and agreed in agreement, expressing his concern that Harry would be ostracized by other players. As a result, Harry, Ron, Anthony and his two younger brothers Michael and Terry also decided to accompany Harry. Even Ryan, who was eating melon on the side, was pulled up by Harry in retaliation and asked him to go with him. Everyone in the dormitory was ready to go, and Neville naturally couldn't be absent. Even Hermione, who was not interested in Quidditch, decided to join the team because of Ryan's relationship. It was soon time for dinner. Harry behaved normally, but Ron was completely different from usual. He swallowed the food in 3 mouthfuls without paying attention to what he was eating. Then a group of people hugged Harry, who was still looking for something to eat, and rushed up the stairs together. Ron even got smart and was the first to answer the riddle of the eagle ring at the door this time. After answering the question of the dormitory, everyone except Harry, Ryan, and Hermione focused on the Nimbus 2000 that was about to be opened and placed on Harry's bed. Harry looked helpless and looked at his toes, hoping that time would pass quickly. Chapter 141 Talking on Paper. Time, 6:45, in the Ravenclaw dormitory. Wow! Ron exclaimed as the package opened and the broomstick rolled onto Harry's sheets. Anthony and others on the side were also full of praise. As the owner of the broom, Harry could only stand on tiptoe, trying to get over the wall and see clearly. But there was no way. Ron was too tall, so Harry had to clear his throat to indicate his presence. Ron didn't respond, still stroking the broom with his slightly trembling hands, just like Brother Chu, who saw the bride's body under the clothes for the first time on the wedding night. It was very similar, even the low voice that couldn't stop coming from his throat. The moans were no different, and Ryan couldn't help but amuse his attention from Hermione's conversation, showing a look of disgust. Fortunately, there were still mostly normal people in the bedroom. Harry's little brother Anthony, who had brought his own dry food, noticed this first, followed by Neville. The two looked at each other and drove Ron away together. Only then did Harry see what he had waited for a week to receive. No, it was simply a work of art. This broomstick is so awesome. It has beautiful lines and a lustrous finish. The handle is made of mahogany, and the long tail is made of neat, straight branches. The words Halleck 2000 are printed in gold on the top of the broom handle leaf. Ron didn't notice anything. After entering Hogwarts, he who was originally at the bottom of his family lost his ability to read the air. No, he still noticed something, and that was the current time. 7 o'clock was getting closer. Harry and others left the castle and walked towards the Quidditch pitch in the dusk. Ryan and Hermione hung far behind. Harry wanted to repeat his old trick and point out Ryan's existence almost again, but the other people in the dormitory who loved Quidditch firmly sandwiched Harry in the middle and opened the way for him. Yen of the bubble rings he used to play with as a child during Joe Yee's time thought might be there. Under the admiration of Anthony and the coaxing of Ron, Harry pretended that he couldn't stand the advice, but in fact he couldn't wait to get on his broom and fly around the stadium. Harry was like an elf dancing in the sky. He quickly shuttled between the goalposts and flew up and down over the court. Ron and others jumped up and cheered on the ground from time to time, while Ryan and Hermione were in the stands. Found a seat near the back and read a book together. Hey, who are you? Roger Davis came from the direction of the castle, holding a large wooden crate under his arm. I'm Ron Weasley, the one next to you when you were talking to Harry before. Ron said in confusion. He couldn't imagine that there was someone in Hogwarts who didn't know him. But before he finished speaking, Roger interrupted him. I know. It's Rita Skeeter's report. It's Ronnie Weasley, right? You are not really in love, are you? You must be Draco Malfoy, look at your concerned eyes. But Slytherin can't be here, this is a secret training. Roger confidently guessed, pointing at Anthony, completely unaware of Ron's excuse, saying that he was Ron Weasley or something like that. I am Anthony Goldstein, a Ravenclaw, a relative of Tina Goldstein, the lover of the famous magical animal expert Newt Scamander. Anthony replied gloomily, but still read out his words subconsciously. An introduction that will be engraved into your soul. Okay, you can be here. Roger Davis raised his eyebrows, looked at Anthony several times suspiciously, and then reluctantly looked at the rest of the people, trying to find the possible German character. Draco Malfoy. Of the remaining guys, Terry Butt and Michael Connor, their brown and black skin were so eye-catching, he had an impression of those two guys. And Neville, he knew. I was curious to see who the Seeker's love rival was, but I remembered at that time that Ron was pestering the talkative sage to help write a book, and he happened to miss it. "Hey, Davis." Harry was attracted by the conversation and landed next to him. "Oh, I almost forgot about you, Harry." Roger put down the wooden crate and kicked Harry on the shoulder, almost staggering him. "You just flew very wonderfully. As expected of me, and for those who are valued by Mrs. Hokey, I will teach you the rules tonight, and then you can participate in the team's training 3 times a week. Hey, you guys, Harry's friends, go to the auditorium, don't disturb." Roger Davis greeted Ron and his group seemingly politely. Ron Kirsten Anthony, who was also in a bad mood, led a group of people to the stands and found a seat near the front to sit down. Harry frowned. "Harry, what's wrong? Does it feel like it's too fast?" Harry, you have to understand that you are different from those mediocre people. You are a natural seeker. Your father's seeker blood is flowing in your body." Roger misunderstood Harry's words. Sub-expression: "Since you are worried, let me introduce our training content to you. The first 2 training times are based on the class schedule. During our free time, we find an empty classroom and make corresponding tactics based on the information we get from other colleges' Quidditch teams. Then, it's usually Friday night. At 7 o'clock, we will simply practice basic skills and practice tactics," Roger said confidently. "But, Davis, don't we need more practice?" Harry said incomprehensibly. After becoming a seeker, he specifically asked Ron, who had a family background, to inquire about Charlie Weasley when he was there. Gryffindor's training method: non-stop training and grinding. Oh, Harry must understand one thing. Compared with the other 3 academies, the most outstanding thing about us is our intelligence. We cannot compare our own shortcomings with their strengths. Geniuses must have genius tactics," Roger said with a hint of displeasure, and it was obvious that he was not interested in continuing to talk about this aspect, so Harry stopped pushing. Sure enough, this is why, in the original world line, Ravenclaw kept stretching his hips, and even Hufflepuff couldn't compare, on paper. Ryan thought that although he sat far away, with his physique, as long as he thought that a conversation at this distance would not be a problem at all. Chapter 142 Unreliable Roger. Time: 7:15. Harry's interest was obviously not high. To be honest, he was very doubtful. Even if he was really as good as Roger said, with a team that was in conflict and an armchair captain, this year's Quidditch, is it really possible that some of the strange cups have their names engraved on them? Roger Davis opened the wooden crate and inside were 4 balls of varying sizes. "Harry, let me make this story short and introduce these 4 balls first. This is the quaffle. The chasers, Henry, Phoenix and I, pass it to each other and try to pass it through the ring, 10 points each time." Roger Davis pointed to a bright red ball the size of a football. Ball said, without pausing at all to give Harry time to take notes and ask questions, and continue directly. Maybe in his opinion, such a simple thing can be understood as soon as he hears it. If Harry hadn't informed Ron about it in advance, it would have been very difficult. This is the bludger. The bludger will fly around on its own, trying to knock players off the broomsticks. The 2 batters on our team are responsible for this. You don't need to remember their names. They are all in 7th grade and their level is average. Their job is to protect our players from being hit by bludgers and hit the bludgers towards the other players. Roger continued to point at 2 identical, black-haired players. A bright, smaller ball than the quaffle. He didn't appear to lay them out for Harry to see. He just picked up a short and stick-added, "Hit the bludgers with this. This is the golden snitch, the most important of all balls. It flies as fast as lightning and can't be seen clearly. Like the snitch, your job, the seeker, is to catch it and be careful not to be caught by other people. Shoot down people and dodge bludgers. If one team seeker catches the snitch, his or her team will win an additional 150 points, and the game will end at this time." Roger Davis said, pointing to the last ball. It was about the size of a big walnut, golden, and had little silver wings that were constantly flapping. "I need to avoid the ball from the enemy team's batter, right?" Harry finally couldn't help but interrupt Roger, looking like he wasn't ready to stop yet. "Yes, that's true, but you're not just careful about the ball. Like Slytherin, they will deliberately hit you with their bodies. The most important thing is our tactics class. I will inform you later." Let me briefly mention the tactics to you. Apart from the seeker, Harry, the chaser is the most important. Roger proudly noted at Harry and himself, Bakov's batting and knocking skills are the most important. Passing the ball is our go-to play. The Pakov technique is named after the Russian chaser Petrova Pakov. Simply put, the chaser takes the quaffle and flies into the air, causing the opponent's chaser to think he or she is trying to avoid them to score, but then the chaser with the quaffle throws the ball down to one of their own chasers who is waiting to catch the ball. Good timing, finding the target accurately is key to this move. It's my go-to move, but to be honest, Henry never catches it. The founder of the invested pass cannot be scrutinized. It is a chaser who throws the quaffle from his shoulders to his teammates behind him. This trick is a bit awkward for Phoenix. He always can't catch my magical strokes. 1 goal, okay, that's it. Harry, I won't disturb your fun time. You can continue playing here with your friends. I'm leaving first. Roger said and became angry. After covering the wooden box and carrying it away, Harry looked confused, but could only nod in agreement. Harry, is this the end? Ron looked in disbelief. Even if he doesn't train with a snitch, he still has to train with any ball. Is this the case? Roger said that we are all geniuses, and geniuses only need to know the rules. According to what he said, geniuses must have genius tactics. Harry said sarcastically, imitating Roger Davis' tone. I asked why our Ravenclaw never won the Quidditch Cup. Anthony said indignantly. Harry, here. Hermione also walked down and took out the golf ball that Ryan had transformed. Yes, we will train ourselves. Neville picked up the ball and said the Nimbus 2000 hit the target every time and did not miss a single ball. It wasn't until it was getting dark that the training organized by Harry and others ended. On the way back, except Hermione Lane was covered in sweat, but their faces regained their confidence. Harry, everyone, you are so powerful and you have Nimbus 2000. As long as you get the golden snitch quickly after the game, even if the other teammates are not so good, the Quidditch Cup will definitely be ours. Anthony said with admiration. Ron, he also wanted to speak, but he was too excited about the training just now and had no energy left. He could only nod in agreement, as did else. Ryan followed them, but didn't think so. When you first listen to the rules of Quidditch, it feels like everyone else is useless, as long as the seeker is awesome. In the original world line, if there were no off-field factors, the Gryffindor team with Harry could be said to be a sure winner of the Quidditch Cup. Described very profoundly from both the front and the side. But the reason for this must also consider the Weasley twins' excellent skills in blocking bludgers and the cooperation of the whole team. The ace in the current Ravenclaw team's victory is Harry. But as the seeker with 3 goals, Henry looked down on Roger and Phoenix, the 2 juniors. Phoenix, as a fan of Nimbus, also hated Roger, a fan of Sweep. Ace Harry's bodyguards and batters don't even deserve names, they just exist in Roger's in the end. Roger was the goalkeeper who prevented others from scoring, as if he didn't exist and didn't even mention it. You must know that the goalkeeper is the second most important presence in other teams. For example, Gryffindor's Wood is the captain and the second most important role after the seeker. However, if you are self-righteous, unskilled in your moves, and others can't catch them, then don't use them. Just do it slowly and steadily. But he just wants to show off his skills and show off himself. If he fails, he will blame his teammates. In addition, there was a ridiculous amount of current combat training, and I don't know if there was any effective tactical discussion. Anyway, from Ryan's point of view, they have no chance. They are too outrageous. Even Ryan, who is not very interested in Quidditch, has to use his precious mortal brain to think and complain. In Ryan's view, the reason why Roger Davis can serve as the captain's backup is probably because of his excellent theory, plus his ability to speak, and he has a handsome face. Speechless, really speechless. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 143: A Life as Calm as Water. Unconsciously, more than a month has passed and it is now October 10th. During this time, Harry Potter spent his rare peaceful life. Professor Quirrell, except that his face was getting worse and worse, never caused any trouble in class. Dudley was also surprisingly honest. Even though he was already the dominant Hufflepuff, he somehow never caused any trouble for Harry. Draco Malfoy, the initial enemy, has long since become a silent friend. There will be no unnecessary communication between them unless necessary. Maybe it was Lucius Malfoy's influence. He said it in the only few conversations with Draco, but Rita Skeeter never wrote any scandals about him. Now Harry sometimes feels that before everything is like a dream. Even for his troublesome friend, Ron, who has always been unwilling to be ordinary and wants to make people more popular, Harry has found a good way to deal with him, to put a high hat on him. "Ron, I heard that you know a lot about Quidditch. Can you introduce it to me?" Harry told Ron once he showed signs of illness. Sometimes it was other things. Harry knew that Ron would ask. But recently, Harry finally found a universal solution, which is to play chess, and Ron is really good at this. Whenever Ron had the urge to do something reckless, Harry would start by playing chess, deduce that Ron had a good mind, and then pretend to flatter him by saying that he definitely wouldn't do it. This was an unwise approach. In this way, one of the triggers of Harry's peaceful life, Ron, was solved. However, although Harry's life is peaceful every day, it does not mean that everything is developing in a good direction. After he became a Seeker, potions teacher Snape never praised him in class. Sure enough, Snape was still thinking that his Seeker father had killed himself because he angered Voldemort. Mother is angry. No, just because he became a Seeker, his attitude changed. If it weren't for his brief training in Atlantis, he probably wouldn't even be able to give himself the occasional stiff smile. Worst thing was not this. Roger Davis's teaching and the so-called tactical seminar made Harry no longer confident in himself. Harry knew that he was a genius. In Ron's eyes, even his brother Charlie was a bit inferior to him, but could he really do it on his own? If he fails in the end, will he become what Roger calls a loser who doesn't cooperate with his tactics? Fortunately, other than these, everything was fine. Ryan didn't know what he was busy with recently. Whenever he had free time, he disappeared, leaving no chance for Harry to ask about going to Atlantis again. What Harry doesn't know is that the reason why he has been able to live peacefully until now is because Ryan is busy with other things and has no time to torment Harry anymore. The reason why Harry was so hot on the first month was actually Dudley Dursley becoming a wizard, and this originally was caused by Ryan. In the past month, Ryan has been trying to locate and find the route to Moon City. It's strange. Although the Any Gate has been determined to be on the moon, Ryan can't reach the moon through it. Among the wizards in Moon City, there are no level 6 wizards. Ryan can be sure of this, because every level 6 wizard has strong and indelible traces in Ryan's magic vision. As reserves for gods, level 7, they are otherworldly existences. A level 6 wizard cannot be matched by just mastering a certain level 6 spell. If you really want to count it this way, there are many wizards with such a trump card. There are several such existences in the Undersea Wizard. Amelia Burns's overall protection is also at the level of LV6. Flitwick, Snape, McGonagall and others are almost at the same level. They fully grasp the hidden concept of the moon itself, relying on the group. Their magical power has become a shared concept, which is very similar to Atlantis. Atlantis is peace and Moon City is concealment. Ryan seriously suspects that they copied Smith. In addition, they are still on the moon, too far away from the Earth, and the gap between them and Ryan has been evened out by such a long distance. Harry had not been here for a long time. Harry Potter actually lived a peaceful life, even though he failed to land in Moon City. How dare Dudley Dursley? How could he be a good person? Ryan initially asked him to become a wizard, not only to study the spells on Harry, but also to make some adjustments to Ryan's peaceful life. Ryan has regretted letting Harry Potter become Ravenclaw more than once. If he were a Gryffindor, he would go out at night every day and be teased by Ryan's little jokes from time to time, leading to his being caught. In the end, Gryffindor would become Gryffindor. If there's less, then more is a beautiful thing. And why is this guy Ron so easy to deal with? Isn't it because he wants to find the talkative sage to write a book? If it were to be written, Ryan would be willing to secretly invest money and sell it through Smith's channels. He wouldn't be afraid of losing money. Now Ryan is rich again. Ryan rubbed his hair, but no hair fell down. It was really boring. It was so strong that it didn't even fall out. Ryan used to like playing with his hair. In fact, all these failures and the lack of fun to watch are not problems. The most annoying thing is that Halloween is coming soon. Kate and Penelope take this holiday very seriously, and they have to spend time preparing for activities. Furthermore, the aroma of roasted pumpkin is now spreading everywhere, which makes Ryan think of a dark dish his brother's favorite pumpkin rice in his previous life. Pumpkin itself is used as pumpkin juice, or used to make sweet soup. Ryan also accepts and even likes it. But if you mix it with rice and make it look like 8 treasure rice, it will undoubtedly be a nightmare. When I was a child in my previous life, I was the only one in the family who hated it. I could only eat the part that was not contaminated by the pumpkin. The taste of roasted pumpkin was almost the same as pumpkin rice. Ryan rubbed his eye point, temporarily blocking his sense of smell. At the same time, I was also thinking about something to be happy about. By the way, this guy Quirrell, he will release a troll on Halloween in 2 days. In this way, Quirrell has the opportunity to steal the Philosopher's Stone. Halloween is ruined, and he only has to give gifts. If he uses this time to do something sexy, Harry can also get a surprise, which is not enough. Everyone can have the Halloween they want, well, except Snape, who will be bitten by a dog, as expected. Halloween is great. Ryan smiled expectantly thanks to Taishi Yumaksu for the monthly ticket and other classmates for the recommendation and subscription. Chapter 144 The Hidden Troll. The time is October 10th, the day before Halloween. This morning's class is History of Magic. Professor Binns is talking about Angus of Woodcroft. He's from Hufflepuff House. The famous Three Broomsticks was his former residence. After being expelled by Muggles, I have established a village of only wizards here. Be honest, they have reason to reject Muggles because they don't understand them. But Black and Malfoy are almost neighbors with Muggles. Malfoy used to make a fortune from Muggles, so their anti-Muggle tendencies are puzzling. During the afternoon charms class, Professor Flitwick, head of Ravenclaw, finally announced that he thought they could start making objects fly. In the previous lessons, they have actually learned the Levioso spell and the Locomotor spell, which together form the levitation charm. When they were learning the levitation spell, Professor Flitwick had promised that they would be able to learn the levitation spell before October 10th. They should not be excited by Professor Flitwick's words. But ever since the students saw Professor Flitwick making Neville's toads fly around the classroom, they had been eager to try this skill. Even Ryan was curious. Hermione, who didn't behave out of the ordinary in Ravenclaw, would still be criticized by him for pointing out Ron's mistakes and staying alone in the girls' bathroom. But it was unlikely. Sure enough, the next development really surprised Ryan. Professor Flitwick divided the class into teams of 2 to start training. Harry's partner was Ron Weasley, while Ryan and Hermione worked together. Okay, don't forget that subtle wrist movement we have been training. Don't forget the wizard Barufio, who said the F instead of uns and found himself lying on the floor with a bison on his chest. As expected, this spell is still relatively difficult for young wizards. Even if they have learned the levitation spell and the movement spell before, it is still not easy for Ron. Harry had already previewed the spells before. Ever since he came back from Atlantis, he had mastered almost all the spells in the first grade. He waved and trembled and whispered the spells, and the feathers were easily controlled by him. Flying into the air. The same goes for Hermione. Professor Flitwick intended not to see the two of them and just slightly with satisfaction. Itched, waved and twitched, over and over again, but the feather he was supposed to send up into the air still lay motionless on the floor. Wingardium Leviosa. Like windmills. Hey Ron, you're just in a hurry. You are Ron Weasley, the wizard chess genius. This is easy for you. Don't do much previewing on weekdays. I'm just studying Quidditch tactics for you, Harry. Ron made excuses for himself with a normal expression. A lie told 1,000 times can easily be taken as the truth. What's more, Ron's wizarding abilities are not bad. After being deceived by Harry for so long, he is really full of confidence in himself. Ron rolled up his sleeves, waved his wand, and said, Wingardium Leviosa. His feather rose Leviosa from the table and hovered 4 feet above their O. Well done. Professor Flitwick shouted, waving his hands. Look, everyone succeeded. Mr. Weasley has succeeded. Stop clapping, Harry. I saw that you had succeeded a long time ago. Ron tried to pull Harry away, but he only said so. Yes, I do this every time. Professor Flitwick is too embarrassed to give me points lately. Harry said helplessly, curling up the corners of his mouth. I said Professor Flitwick is too pretentious. Look at Professor Snape of Slytherin. Why does he keep looking for excuses to give extra points to the students of his college? If I were Professor Flitwick, I would definitely give you extra points every day. Ron said indignantly. Seeing these scenes that were different from the original world line, Ryan honestly felt a little fun from it. Plot had followed. Ryan would have taken Hermione away in advance and secretly watched the live version of Harry Potter fighting the troll. However, it was still early, and Quirrell chose the troll that was put in before the Halloween dinner on October 10th. The red line of fate between Harry and the troll had been severed, but Ryan didn't mind being the moon. Helping others is a good virtue of the Chinese people, right? Ron can't be missing, and there's Malfoy. So, finally, Thursday, October 10th arrived the Defense Against the Dark Arts office on the 4th floor of Hogwarts. This office, which was turned into a Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom after Quirrell left, now looks extremely neat. Ryan emerged from the air and walked to a box with 7 locks in the corner. This box was also used by Crouch Jr., and Moody was stored in it. 7 is the number that Voldemort considers to be the most magical. Even his Horcruxes pursue 7. It is not surprising that the box adopts this number. This magic box can only be opened multiple times with a key. If you want to see which floor it is, you have to open it several times. Although Ryan could record it directly, thinking about what was inside, he decided to use physical means. Ryan grabbed 7 keys from the air that were instantly made after scanning the chain. I have inserted the first key into the keyhole and opened the box. Spell book in the box anymore, but various potions for body care, some parchment, quills, and a black cloak that hides the aura of magic. It's probably what Quirrell wore when he broke into Gringotts and went to the Forbidden Forest to kill unicorns. Ryan inserted the 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th keys into the lock and opened the box. What appeared was different each time. Finally, I inserted the 7th key into the lock and opened the lid. A giant monster with a height of 12 feet and dull skin was curled up inside. There was also a thick wooden stick placed next to it. It exudes a disgusting smell. I found you. Ryan smiled. Chapter 145 Broken Friendship. At 4 o'clock, Quirrell was in class on the 3rd floor of Hogwarts Castle. In this class today was scheduled guest Draco Malfoy. At the same time, Ryan looked at this ugly guy with disgust and stopped breathing temporarily. Ryan was a little suspicious that a large part of Quirrell's smell came from this short, as thick as a tree stump, and underneath are large, flat, thick, calloused feet. Ryan stood there, majestic, and cold spells kept sounding from his mouth, and the sounds turned into substantial runes, beating and attached to the sleeping creature. Okay, the villain is done, now it's time for the second female lead, the arrogant golden retriever. Ryan thought as the box closed automatically and disappeared. In the Defense Against the Dark Arts class, Draco and his 2 friends sat in the last row. Damn, this Quirrell, I can't stand it anymore, I must tell my father. Draco said angrily, covering his nose, but Crabbe and Goyle did not nod in agreement as before. There had been a gap between them and Draco a month ago when Draco ran off alone, leaving them with the demon Dudley Dursley. Furthermore, during this time, Draco Malfoy even made friends with Harry Potter. Harry Potter was so good, and the 2 of them were Draco's childhood sweethearts. You know, their full names are Gregory Goyle and Vincent Crabbe respectively, but Draco didn't even call them by their names affectionately, but not long ago he called them Potter, haha prophet. After this incident passed, although Crabbe and Goyle still stood behind Draco like Dorgots, they were not as dedicated as before. The reason why they didn't break up with Draco was because of the relationship between their family and the Malfoy family, just like the relationship between the 2 of them and Draco in the past. Second, it's shameful to say that Draco's mother often sends him a lot of delicious candies. Only a fool would ignore him if there was so much to eat. On the other side, Draco saw that his little friend had not left him. He turned around and found that even in the Defense Against the Dark Arts class, the 2 of them were still eating, and Quirrell's smell of smelly socks was similar to garlic. What, Crabbe, did you remember that today is Halloween and prepare to save some food? Draco, my belly. Then an overwhelming sound came from Crabbe's belly. Goyle also put down his half-eaten chocolate frog and looked at his inseparable friend with concern. Then, for the next half of the class, Crabbe never showed up again. Draco and Goyle followed the flow of people downstairs to the restaurant to attend the Halloween banquet. They overheard Seamus saying to her friend Dean, "The stench and the obvious sound of diarrhea have been coming from the toilet where Crabbe is, and it has not stopped until now," which resulted in the 2 of them having to climb 2 more floors to the boys' bathroom on the 7th floor. Goyle, why doesn't that guy Crabbe go back to the lounge to solve his personal hygiene problem? It's such a shame. How can you eat under the smell of a Quirrell? You see, Crab has a bad stomach. Draco babbled, but the footsteps were obviously much louder, and Goyle nodded innocently. But when they walked into the restaurant and saw the colorful Halloween decorations, they immediately forgot about Crab. 1,000 bats fluttered on the walls and ceiling, and 1,000 more circled like low dark clouds over the dining table, making the candle flames flicker, and the pumpkin's belly suddenly rushed into the dining room, his big scarf on his head with a look of horror on his face. Everyone stared at him, and saw him walking to Professor Dumbledore's chair, leaning on the table, panting. The troll, in the underground classroom, thought you should know. After saying that, he fell to the floor and passed out. The restaurant suddenly became a mess. Professor Dumbledore had to make several piercing pyrotechnic explosions from the tip of his wand before everyone fell silent. "Prefects," he said in a low voice, "lead the students from your college to the dormitories immediately." So, Ravenclaw and Gryffindor went up under the leadership of their prefects, while Slytherin and Hufflepuff, led by their prefects and teachers, were also preparing to return to the common room, the most dangerous underground place, where there might be trolls. "Damn, how can we live underground? I hope we don't encounter trolls," Draco muttered. "Crab, what?" Malfoy didn't come to his senses for a while. "Crab, he's still in the bathroom. He doesn't know about the troll yet. I'm going to find him." Goyle said what I wanted to Draco for the first time in his life. "Don't go, he's on the 5th floor. We are the most dangerous. There's only one giant monster." "If you ask me," Draco said. He was interrupted by Goyle. "That's enough, Draco." "No, Malfoy, you have never considered Vincent and I as friends. You left me and him behind for that monster Dursley. Now, you want to leave him behind and hide in the lounge comfortably with a large army." Gower said so many words for the first time in his life. "Come on, I'm not, it's just not necessary," Malfoy said. "So, what is my name?" "It's not Goyle. It's my full name. It's just like your name is Potter or Harry." Goyle replied coldly. "Grace? Damn it, that's not what's important, Gower, you idiot." Draco couldn't answer for a moment. Gower smiled contemptuously and disappeared into the crowd. Draco stood there blankly, and after a while he left the team heading to the basement and ran to the 5th floor. On the other side, on the road, Harry and others encountered some people rushing in different directions. Harry grabbed Ron's arm sharply as they struggled to squeeze through a crowd of confused-looking Hufflepuffs. "Look, that's Malfoy. What's up with him?" "He went upstairs, not to the basement." Harry pointed at a flash of light blonde hair in the crowd. "What does this have to do with us?" "The troll is in the basement." "What's the danger if he goes up?" Ron said with a frown. "While he's not here at the Halloween dinner today, it must be because of this. And the teachers have all gone to the basement now, and we can't notify the teachers. The troll is a living creature, he's not just a piece of wood, he's going to move, and what if Harry thought?" Ron bit his lips. "Oh, okay," he decisively said, "but it's best if Prefect Privet doesn't see us. Anthony, if anyone asks where Harry is, just say we're back in the common room." They crouched down, blending in with the Hufflepuff crowd, and walked in the other direction. Chapter 146. The troll is on the 5th floor. Time, 6:30, on the 5th floor of Hogwarts Castle. Ryan faded into the air, sighing at this magical scene. In the original world line, Quirrell put the troll in the basement, but he climbed all the way to the girls' bathroom on the 2nd floor. Such a big target did not cause any movement. Although there are also reasons why the Halloween dinner is too busy and too loud. But this time, Ryan injected a curse into the troll that could not kill the little wizard, to prevent any unlucky guy from losing his life. In this case, even if the little wizard was hit by a troll, he would probably break a few bones and just go to the school doctor's office and lie down overnight. At the same time, in order for the villain troll to go to the theater prepared by Ryan, the boys' bathroom on the 5th floor. Ryan's curse also added the idea of going up, and this idea disappeared when it climbed to the 5th floor. The most amazing thing is that even if it was moved to the 5th floor, no one noticed it after such a long time. I am speechless. After the troll arrives on the 5th floor, Ryan won't need to guide everything that follows. The strongest smell, and the thing that attracts the troll the most, is naturally the original fragrance of the toilet. Wait, we need to add a magic spell to Crab to prevent him from collapsing. Now that the troll is coming, he should stop. Stomach, which had been churning since the defense against the dark arts class, finally stopped. "Crab, are you there?" Goyle's voice came from outside the door. and there was a loud knock on the door. "I'm here, Goyle. Did you and Draco bring me something to eat?" Crabbe said, stroking his cold sweat. At the same time, he was secretly glad that his stomach had returned to normal. He had just flushed the dirty things out, and now he only used wearing pants. "Hurry up, Crabbe, there's a troll in the basement. Let's go upstairs in a moment to avoid encountering the troll," Goyle said eagerly. "I can't stand up," Crabbe said with a tearful voice. At the same time, Draco also arrived on the 5th floor. "I have smelled a strong stench the bathroom." On the other side, Ron, who had already reached the 4th floor, raised his hand. "Can you smell something?" Harry sniffed, and a stench penetrated his nostrils. It was a kind of smelly socks and no one had ever smelled it. The smell of cleaning public toilets mixed together. Then they heard a low grunting sound and the sound of huge feet dragging along the ground. Ron noticed that at the end of a passage on the left, a huge creature was moving towards them. They quickly retreated into the darkness and watched as it slowly walked into the moonlight. "It's heading to the 5th floor, in the direction Malfoy was just now," Harry said in a low voice, horrified. "Hey, Harry, could that troll be put in by some wizard who hates Death Eaters and even his family, so he follows Malfoy all the time?" Ron said wisely, trying to suppress his fear in this regard. "The troll must be going to the bathroom. It stinks so much, and the key is in the keyhole. We can lock it in," Harry murmured. Ever since, from Harry and Ron's perspective, the troll stopped by the bathroom door and peered inside. He swung his long ears, made a decision with his little head, then lowered his head and slowly entered the room. "Harry, you're so..." Ron looked at Harry in admiration and quickly shut his mouth mid-sentence, realizing that now was a good time to implement Harry's previous plan. They sidled toward the open door, their mouths dry, hoping the troll wouldn't suddenly burst out. Harry leaped, grabbed the key, and slammed the door shut, locking it firmly. "It's done." Their faces flushed with excitement at their success, and they began to run back along the passage. "Wait a minute, Ron, the bathroom, Crabbe disappearing, Malfoy's unusual behavior." Harry grabbed Ron and said. "So, Draco Malfoy and Crabbe are," Ron said in horror. On the other side, Crabbe, who finally stood up after a lot of hard work, pushed open the door, hung his whole body on Goyle, and said, "Where is Draco?" However, when he asked Vincent, that is, Crabbe, something smelled wrong, he suddenly realized what the smell he had smelled before was. "Leave, wouldn't it be better for us to hide here?" Gower was moved at first, and then asked doubtfully. "Damn, come on, Vincent Crabbe, are you weak? Wait, let's hide." Draco wanted to pull the two of them to escape quickly, but Crabbe could no longer walk to the dung bomb he had smelled before. He was getting stronger and stronger, and his already pale face became even whiter, like the ghost of Bloody Barrow. He quickly pulled the two people who were still in the same place and entered a bathroom next to Crabbe, making a gesture to keep them quiet. I have to say that although Crabbe and Goyle are stupid, have pot heads, and look stupid, they are very obedient at critical moments. That Crabbe had used in the afternoon at the critical moment. No, even the smell next door, no, it's also mixed with another smell, the smell of dung bombs. Troll, about to defeat them. A wooden stick brushed against Crabbe's hair. At the same time, the partitions of several stalls were also destroyed, and a light yellow liquid spurted out from the broken toilet pipes. After Draco squatted down, he rolled to the side. At this time, his ferocity was aroused. A lowly creature, he almost hurt the noble Malfoy and his friends. "Stand still." Draco Malfoy grinned ferociously. However, the troll's thick skin only allowed him to resist blows, but also gave him extremely high magic resistance. The troll did not move at all, but it still felt the impact. The burning pain at the base of my thigh came from the wooden stick in the hand of the little man next to me. "Stand stiff and stop dead. Stand still." Although Crabbe and Goyle are stupid, they are also very talented in this kind of curse. At this dangerous moment, their brains are almost in a state of mush. But now that Draco had launched an attack, they all aimed at the base of the troll and chanted the same spell. Roar. Although the giant monster blocked the effect of the curse with its magic resistance, its legs were not stuck together, and it lost its balance and fell to the ground. But the pain of being hit, especially in that private part, made him roar in pain, and the wooden stick fell to the ground. Chapter 147 Broken Giant Monster Head. Time, 6:50. As the roar came out, Quirrell, who was still wandering in the restricted area on the 4th floor, couldn't help but look even paler. You idiot, why did the troll reach the 5th floor? A cold voice sounded from the back of Quirrell's head. Quirrell was also confused. In order to buy himself time, he had put the troll in the basement without causing any disturbance. It consumes a lot of energy on its part. It seems that the Dark Lord proposed to buy dragon eggs and defrauded Hagrid to deal with the 3-headed dog. The leader's secret plan had to be implemented. My treasury, but GGGGG. With a magic stone, these gold galleons are nothing. Well, should I go to Bajinbach, or go to the Pig's Head Bar to find Mundungus Verleech? Quirrell thought in his mind, and at the same time he quickly retreated from the chess soldiers laid out by Professor McGonagall, and even woke up the 3-headed dog, and by the way deceived Snape, who came to the restricted area to check. However, happiness brings sorrow. Perhaps he tricked Snape, who had been staring at him. The fluctuation in his heart was noticed by Voldemort. Idiot. Find Mundungus. Quirrell immediately covered his head in pain again. It must be that Voldemort began to punish his thoughtful servant again. Bajan has made a lot of money recently. He will not take on any business of smuggling dragon eggs. Even if he does, Bajinbach is not a simple person. Mundungus is Dumbledore's favorite person no matter what. He is a member of the Order of the Phoenix. His advantages of wide channels made Dumbledore accept him. He with gold galleons, he can even get his hands on the Minister of Magic's underwear, Voldemort said. At the same time, Mag and others quickly left the basement, stopped checking, and rushed to the 5th floor. Harry and Ron, who mustered up the courage and were about to open the door, were also frightened by the sound, and confirmed that there must be someone inside who had hurt the troll. Clumsy because of nervousness, it took Harry a short moment to pull the door open, and the two of them rushed inside. The Malfoy trio were holding their wands, crouching down and making an offensive gesture. The troll's long hands were crossed, covering his already red and vaguely exposed things. He wanted to attack, but he didn't know what to do. The entry of the two hares broke the deadlock. The troll turned around, endured the pain, picked up the wooden stick stained with yellow liquid, and swung it towards Harry and the two of them. As it walked, it knocked the pool away from the wall. Draco, you run first and confuse it, Harry said desperately to Ron, grabbing a faucet and throwing it against the wall. The troll stopped a few steps away from Harry and Harry. He turned around awkwardly and blinked his little eyes stupidly, trying to see what the sound was coming from. At the same time, he blocked the lower part with both hands to prevent Draco and others from attacking from behind. Idiot. Ron shouted as he ran to the other side and threw a metal pipe at the troll. The 3 Dracos took advantage of this moment and ran to the door, but were not ready to leave. They still held their wands in an attack posture, ready to support Harry and the other 2 at all times. The troll didn't seem to notice that the metal pipe hit it on the shoulder, but when it heard the shout, it stopped again and turned its ugly big nose to run. Harry took this opportunity to get behind it. The shouts and the echoes seemed to drive the troll crazy. He looked at the 3 people at the door and decided to attack Ron first. He roared again and began to move closer to Ron. Harry stood behind the troll, thinking about any spells that could be used. Levitation spell. Probably useful. Not big, unless like Draco, you had him in a vulnerable place. It's too dangerous. What if he gets angry and kills Ron instead? Smells? Quirrell? Yes. Harry finally thought of that spell, that extraordinary spell that even knocked out Quirrell, an adult wizard. Periculum. Harry shouted, pointing his wand at the troll's back. At this moment, in the eagerness to defeat the troll and save Ron, the sparks of the mutant red sparks turned into red light beams in Harry's hands, just like normal red sparks. The troll stopped, and the little head that was shot split open like a watermelon. White brain matter, gray nose, and red blood Weasley, the water in the pipes is clean now. Why don't you take a shower and come back? Draco said, covering his nose. Yes, Ron, let's take a shower first. Harry eagerly. Just when Ron was about to go to the broken water pipe in the corner, Crabbe said, well, why do you have to use the water pipe next to the toilet? Isn't there one at the sink? Ron didn't dare to speak for fear that something would accidentally enter his mouth, but it could be seen from his expression that he was questioning Draco and Harry if it was intentional. Harry and Draco laughed angry dryly, and at this moment, just in time, the rescuers arrived. What the hell are you doing? Said Professor McGonagall, with cold anger in her voice. It was the teachers who came, Professor McGonagall bursting into the room, followed closely by Snape, Quirrell at the end. Quirrell only glanced at the troll, then let out a weak sob, sat on a toilet, and clutched his chest tightly. What a trick. Why are there trolls here? Crabbe has been in the bathroom on the 5th floor. We want to find you. Where are you? Draco roared with a red face. Professor Quirrell, don't you know best? Question mark. There is a little wizard who is alone, don't you know to tell the other professors? I want to tell my dad. Chapter 148 Quirrell being held accountable. Time, 7:10. Ron and Harry looked at each other. When they were wondering whether they would be deducted points, Draco was still able to talk to the professors normally. The one who usually seemed the most ridiculous while his father made him laugh. Draco's figure was a bit taller in their hearts. Snape bent down to look at the troll the spell, and Harry, Draco, Goyle, Crabbe, and even Ron were all cleaned up by this spell. How do you do it? Shouldn't it be normal to point to the cursed side, single target? Since no points would be deducted depending on the situation, Harry thought as Ravenclaw's true nature was revealed at this time. Who is the clean spell? Snape said coldly after checking the traces on the troll. What, Professor, this isn't the unforgivable curse. Do you want to deduct points from Harry? Draco said sarcastically. Goyle and Crabbe looked at him worriedly, while Ron showed admiration. So, it's Harry Potter. No, I'm just curious about what kind of spell it is. It's not black magic. It's so powerful. Snape's expression immediately softened, and he looked at Harry with an expression that looked like my son was so powerful. Harry was surprised. It was a look he hadn't seen in a long time since he became a Seeker. This change of face made Professor McGonagall dazed for a moment, and Quirrell couldn't care less about pretending to be weak. Professor Quirrell knows best. Ron interjected. After he was clean, he spoke quickly to make up for the grievance of not daring to speak just now. Just the red spark, the variant. Harry added quickly. No, Dumbledore mentioned this spell. He prefers purification and burning. If it is true, the one in front of us should be an intact and unconscious troll. Quirrell stopped stammering and couldn't help but say. Professor Quirrell, what, is the troll still the property of the school? Do we want to pay compensation? My father is the school director. Draco said sarcastically. No, Mr. Malfoy, I'm just surprised. Quirrell immediately resumed his stammering. Okay, Quirrell Quirrell. My students have just toughened up the troll. What does the curse issue have to do with you? Snape said sinisterly, as if Quirrell was going to kill him if he still bothered him. Histone. Quirrell was sobbed on the toilet, lowered his head and stopped talking. Oh, if that's the case. Professor McGonagall stared at them and muttered, Mr. Malfoy, you silly boy, you are a student of Slytherin. We are checking for trolls in the basement. Why don't you follow? The prefect will tell us and then inform us. If Crabbe would have turned into pulp. Draco's face immediately changed, and he looked like he was sobbing, which made Ron and Harry stunned. Well, Quirrell, I thought you could become an excellent professor, but you forgot a student in the bathroom on the 5th floor when the troll broke into Hogwarts. I can understand that you were persecuted because of your previous trip, but what about the time after you fainted and woke up? Where were you? Professor McGonagall was furious and directly called Professor Quirrell's name, but there was no response. There are still 5 students present. I thought that Mr. Crabbe was already well and returned to the lounge. Shouldn't the prefect find out when he checked the number of people? Quirrell stammered in explanation. Like students who return questions to their teachers. However, it is understandable that he also attended Hogwarts before becoming a professor, which means that he was once a student of Professor McGonagall. Professor McGonagall was here, so Snape and Quirrell, 2 of his former students, did not say anything, but just waited for other professors and Headmaster Dumbledore. They hurried out of the room and walked to the corner of the 5th floor, everyone in silence. Perhaps because they left the bathroom, or because of the residual effect of Harry's spell to remove the stench, they finally could not smell the stench of the troll and breathed a sigh of relief. We should have won more than 25 points, Ron grumbled. You know, this is a troll, Harry, you deserve more. Weasley, I don't know when I allow you to talk about us. Malfoy said in his drawn-out tone. Besides, Crabbe should no longer be among them, and we should be 20 points. Malfoy, hey, you didn't say we either. Professor McGonagall was talking about each of you winning 5 points for Ravenclaw and Slytherin. She didn't say not counting Crabbe. Ron replied. Okay, I said yes, but Weasley, you didn't ask for my permission. You can call me Draco from now on, Draco Malfoy cleared his throat and continued, Ron, that's such an unartistic name. You guys are going to the 6th floor, and we are going back to the basement, which happens to be here separate. Let's go, Gregory and Vincent, Malfoy said. Goyle and Crabbe walked downstairs with smiles that made them look even stupider. Draco Malfoy is not bad. He stepped up and got us out of trouble, Ron admitted, but don't forget, we did save him. If we hadn't locked them up with that thing, he might not have had to be rescued at all. You know, the trolls were in trouble when we went in, Harry reminded him. Oh, Harry, don't mention the troll. I guess I won't be able to eat meat for the next week, Ron said painfully. What happened to the troll? Oh, they are indeed Slytherin. Hit that part, it's really insidious. Fortunately, we are barely friends now, Ron said with emotion. If it were me, I would do the same. The troll's magic resistance is very high, so it can only hit vulnerable parts, but its head is too small, making it difficult to aim, Harry said fairly. Then, I should be lucky that you are behind him, otherwise I don't know what would have exploded on me. When I get back to the lounge, I have to take a shower first. I can't eat anything like this, Ron said coldly. They trudged up the spiral staircase to the wooden eagle ring. What can't you buy with gold galleons? A gentle, musical voice sounded. Time. Packed and noisy, everyone eating the food that was served. Only Anthony, Harry's fanboy, stood alone at the door, waiting for them, and eagerly handed over the food. Ron waved and ran to the bedroom alone. What's wrong with him? Anthony asked in surprise. Ron would refuse food. Don't mention it yet, I'm staring. Harry smiled. Chapter 149 Diary. When you and someone experience something together, you can't help but feel good about each other, and killing a 12-foot-tall troll is one such event. After this incident, Draco even started to greet Ron, which made Ron's brothers, such as the Weasley twins, forget to tease Ron. They would make little jokes about Ron every time they met. For this reason, Percy even left his prefect badge in the Great Hall. Ron even received a letter from his father, Arthur Weasley, who was full of worries about whether the evil Malfoy really had a male sexual orientation and used a love potion on Ron, thinking Draco Malfoy's father was the most exaggerated. He came to Hogwarts in person on Saturday of this week. After nervously checking that his son was still normal, he hurriedly accused Quirrell of expelling him from Hogwarts. Lucius Malfoy would have seen the Dark Lord's wrath in advance. According to Draco, his father was at first because he and Weasley became friends, but after mentioning Harry Potter, the opportunistic head of the Malfoy family stopped being and asked him for information. Whatever Harry Potter likes, he goes back and buys it. In the angry auditorium on Monday morning, Ryan was on the sidelines. Harry and Ron were surprised when they heard this, but in Ryan's opinion, this operation was normal. The current Harry Potter is not the person he was in the original world line. After the original Harry Potter entered school, everything seemed extremely mediocre. At most, Hebrax was a Quidditch genius. How could Lucius Malfoy put him in his eyes? But now Harry Potter has shown extraordinary performance as soon as he entered school. He knocked down the professor earlier. Lucius still suspected that Dumbledore was building momentum for his savior. But in this incident, his son witnessed it with his own eyes. Harry Potter out one blow, a single blow that violently hits the head of a troll with high magic resistance. If this blow is used on any adult wizard, the result will be the same. To subdue a creature like a troll, you usually control it by manipulating other things and hitting its fragile head. Other spells that directly act on the body are insignificant to it. Lucius Malfoy naturally knew the gold content in this. No, before knowing the relationship between his son and Harry, he did not use the excuse to find Dumbledore, but Quirrell. He should have already considered moving closer to the most promising white wizard, Dumbledore. But in this case, Voldemort's Horcrux and diary? In 2nd grade, there is probably no chance of the diary entering Hogwarts, Ryan thought. However, Ryan still underestimated Lucius Malfoy. After the day's classes were over, Ryan sensed the appearance of Lucius Malfoy again. He actually carried several dark magic items on his body, including Horcruxes. In the principal's office, several dark magic items were placed on Dumbledore's desk. "Good evening, Lucius," said Dumbledore pleasantly. "Dumbledore, some time ago, like Bertha Jorkins, I suddenly remembered the memory I lost after being manipulated by a mysterious man. Didn't know that Dumbledore knew very well that he was a Death Eater, the real deal. Oh, is this why you came so late and quietly?" Dumbledore stroked the diary, his eyes shining with joy. Does Voldemort know that Harry's his Horcrux? It can only be said that Quirrell has no intention of harming Harry at present. Lucius Malfoy said nothing, while Dumbledore tapped the table and thought. Lucius, do you know what this diary is? Dumbledore said with a smile. I don't know. Lucius Malfoy looked pale, guessing that this thing was probably more important than he thought, but he quickly regained his composure. After all, the mysterious man had not appeared for 10 years, and he also decided which side to read on. Horcruxes, as long as they exist, Voldemort's soul will still remain in the world. And, now, his soul is in Professor Quirrell, who you want to impeach. Dumbledore said seriously, his blue eyes seemed to be able to see through people's hearts. How could it be? Dumbledore. Quick, quick. Destroy it. Lucius Malfoy noted at the diary hysterically, the mysterious man, the Dark Lord must be taking revenge on me and stealing my child, Dumbledore. It's a Death Eater, please, please, kill Quirrell, vile devil, kill him. Lucius, you, a Death Eater, dare to speak your master's name. Dumbledore said contemptuously. I am willing to go to Azkaban, I am willing to surrender, as long as Lucius Malfoy wrung his hands, and the snake staff that symbolized the identity of the Malfoy family was thrown aside by him. He was confused and spent the last few seconds. The word seemed to be stuck in my throat and I could never say it. No, Lucius, you are more useful outside. I will let you know what I will do next, everything. About Voldemort is being watched by me, don't worry. Continue to complain to Professor Quirrell and pretend not to know. Dumbledore pondered for a long time. So, Voldemort, reason why I didn't touch Voldemort is because he may have several Horcruxes, and the purpose of his coming to Hogwarts is for the Sorcerer's Stone. As for this diary? In order to avoid Voldemort's detection, we should first. Dumbledore didn't finish his words, but Lucius Malfoy on the side already understood what he meant. Ryan was in the lounge at the moment, and what he sensed made him dumbfounded. Good guy, Lucius Malfoy is really courageous. The reason why he didn't do this in the original world line is probably because Harry Potter is too mediocre and Dumbledore is too old and has no heir. Dumbledore's operations were also mature and prudent. Indeed, in the original world line, after Quirrell murdered Harry and later he had a conversation in the Forbidden Area on the 4th floor, he learned that Voldemort did not know that Harry Potter was his Horcrux. In 2nd grade, after the diary was destroyed, he learned that Voldemort had made more Horcruxes than he imagined. And he didn't care to discover that Voldemort could not even sense the destruction of his Horcrux. Later, during the vacation before the 6th grade, Dumbledore went directly to find the Horcrux and found gone. The special ring, the Resurrection Stone, couldn't help but wear it, and finally destroyed it altogether. The reason why Dumbledore dared to tell Lucius Malfoy so much was because both Lucius Malfoy and he knew that there was no turning back for Malfoy. If Voldemort knew about it, he would only be greeted by death. The world is really wonderful, and with just a little nudge from Ryan, it develops in unexpected directions. Chapter 150 Lucius Malfoy's Gift. After entering November, the weather becomes very cold. The mountains surrounding the school were gray and covered with ice and snow, and the lake's surface was as cold and hard as tempered steel. Every morning there was frost on the ground, and from the upstairs windows Hagrid could be seen, bundled up in a long moleskin coat, rabbit fur gloves, and huge beaver boots, defrosting his broomsticks on the Quidditch pitch. It seems that the Quidditch match is about to begin. During this period, except for the person involved, only Ryan knew everything that happened in the principal's office. At the same time, Ryan also unexpectedly discovered that because of the consumable potions, just the simple ones, after he cooperated with the Wizards of Atlantis, the price dropped, which led to one thing, that is, Quirrell did not smoke the unicorn. Beast Blood's plan. Good guy. It turns out he sucked blood just because he didn't have enough gold galleons. Ryan is a little helpless. In this case, Ryan's plan will be messed up. Originally, he was planning to make a brilliant appearance when Quirrell was preparing to attack the unicorn, and finally asked Quirrell to steal the magic stone earlier and attack the street earlier. Fortunately, in the next school year, I will continue to mess with my childhood idol Harry Potter to pass the time. But, everything is lost, because there is the existence of Quirrell, that is, Voldemort. He wants to torment Harry and keep an eye on them to avoid overturning. It would be so troublesome. Forget it. Let Harry settle down a little bit next. Ryan thought kindly. In the following days, everything was as ordinary as water. The only day that caused a bit of sensation was Friday. That morning, Draco Malfoy ran to the Ravenclaw table again. The only difference was the thing in his hand, a long and thin thing wrapped in brown paper as usual. "Harry, open it and take a look." Ron next to him couldn't wait to say. After opening it, he saw a slender black leather box with a line of silver words printed on it, "Broomstick Repair Toolbox." "Wow," Harry whispered, unzipping the box and looking inside. Inside were a large jar of Fleetwood's High-Perfect broomstick polish, a pair of gleaming silver broomstick cutters, and a small brass compass that could be attached to the broomstick on long journeys. There is also a broomstick care manual. These things were not very expensive, and they would not make Harry refuse to accept them, but they were very comprehensive, which Harry himself had never thought of. This incident spread quickly at the time. Some said it was Lucius Malfoy's dowry gift to his future daughter-in-law, while others said it was a Death Eater trying to assassinate Harry Potter. This little hotspot passed quickly after several weeks of training. Harry will participate in his first match on Saturday, which is Ravenclaw vs. Hufflepuff. If Ravenclaw wins, they will move up to third place in the House Cup. I know which was worse. At the same time, in the tactical discussion, Roger Davis designed tactics for Harry for the first time. You must know that except for Roger's role as Seeker, he never mentioned the tactics of other positions. The tactics are the sloth tree roll and the Wollongong zigzag chasers. It is a flying method that moves forward in a zigzag pattern at height in order to get rid of the opponent's chaser. Roger said Seekers can do this too to prevent being hit by enemy bludgers. It is worth mentioning that in this tactical discussion, the goalkeeper has not appeared until now, and Roger treats him as if he does not exist. After hearing Harry's introduction, Ron was very angry. He said that in Gryffindor, his brother had no need for these at all and could only focus on the golden snitch. Anthony on the side also agreed, but then went on to suggest that this should be to make up for the weakness of the bouncer batsmen in their team. This almost caused Anthony and Ron to quarrel. But later Harry cleverly used the topic of who the goalkeeper was to divert their attention. Harry Potter was about to participate in the competition, and for some reason he was suddenly connected to the gift given to him by Lucius Malfoy, the efforts of school director Lucius Malfoy. But this incident did not affect Harry. Speaking of which, Ryan also felt that Harry Potter was lucky. Since the Ravenclaw Quidditch team trained more indoors, and Harry didn't like to go out on weekdays, he had not been mobbed because of this incident. Furthermore, due to his excellent grades now, even Quidditch training did not affect his homework afterwards. In addition, the Quidditch Symposium was still held in the Ravenclaw Lounge on Saturday, so Harry would not go out of the lounge to kill time. Since going to Atlantis, his energy has been more focused on magic and he has not watched more Quidditch Origins. This symposium just made up for this. After Roger's speech, Harry learned that there are 700 ways to foul in Quidditch, and they all appeared in a World Cup game in 1473. The Seeker is usually the smallest and fastest kicker. Although deaths during Quidditch matches are rare, there have been cases of referees disappearing for months before reappearing in the Sahara Desert. Time passed quickly, and it was the day before Harry's first Quidditch match. Harry and Ron took advantage of the recess to go outside to the cold courtyard, while Ryan and Hermione stayed in the classroom. To be honest, Ryan didn't understand why he had to go out to take a breath in such a cold day. On the other hand, I have to say that Harry's magical attainments are really excellent now. Just like Hermione in the original book, I used magic to create a handful of bright blue flames, like blue bellflowers. Carry it with you in a jam jar. They stood with their backs to the fire for warmth. At this moment, Snape crossed the yard. Ryan smiled slightly, and a taste of wind suddenly blew under his knees, revealing a bloody thigh. The wound caused by the three-headed dog was really horrific. A few weeks had passed and now it had appealed. Even Snape had no way to do anything about it. In the original world line, or Ryan initially thought, this wound was not bitten by a three-headed dog on Halloween, but the day before Gryffindor played Slytherin. But I didn't expect that in the real world, this was the same as the movie version. Halloween. However, after being bitten, his robe had been repaired long ago and the wound was temporarily healed. This is why Harry didn't notice it at the time. Even during this period of potions class, Harry didn't notice any signs of injury on Snape. However, during this encounter, Harry Potter discovered a mark on Snape's thigh. If Ryan gave a little guidance, would Harry Potter direct his attention to the fourth floor? I really look forward to it. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like, Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.